I think actually releasing this would actually be kind of funny. Like this bit, kind of funny. Maybe patrons at least. Let them hear.
No, we do this in reverse. This gets put out to the main feed while the patrons only get.
Oh no!
That would be funny.
That'd be funny. Agreed.
Hey, folks, do you want to listen to Jacob and Drew talk about season 6 of X-Men the Animated Series? I mean, X-Men 97. Then pay us $5 and you can hear all of this that you want.
Yes.
You know what? Fun fact, I may just put this at the beginning of our End of Evangelion episode. Yes. This is your commercial, folks.
Yes, exactly.
You can tell how polished we are. We've only been podcasting for 5 years, and the best way we can handle a commercial is just to talk beforehand.
You're not kidding. You're not kidding. So yeah, go to patreon.com/Slowcast, pay us $5, and you will get the exclusive X-Men 97 episode reviews from us.
I will say this is exclusivity to patrons.
Very limited.
It will come out to the regular feed eventually. But I don't know when.
Everything
we
together.
don't know when. It's just going to be when the time makes sense. It may come out during the hiatus, which if y'all don't know what that is, you'll soon learn.
Yeah.
Somebody's getting married.
I don't know who that is, but okay.
No idea. So, yeah.
The Cellcast is recorded in front of a live streaming audience.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Cellcast. Joining me today is a man who, well, just doesn't want you to throw him in a briar patch. Welcome, Jacob.
Ouch, because they get everywhere and it's like pokes and everything, just stings and kind of like sand. No thanks. Why thank you? Let me use our co-host, a man who was just looking for some good rabbit stew. Welcome, Drew.
Rabbit stew. Rabbit stew. I don't want it with carrots because I hate carrots. Carrots for me are like what broccoli is for you, by the way.
I got you.
If you didn't know.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, and for all you folks at home, so Jacob does not like broccoli.
No, I don't.
I do not like carrots.
Dude.
Do not send us any.
I'd be like, just saying that, I guarantee we will get some kind of vegetable something sent our way. It's like, hey, what's your address? Oh, it's da-da-da-da-da. Send it over to the next city.
Oh, Jiminy.
I don't like both.
I jumped the gun there. Fly me to the moon.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we are reviewing, of all things, Song of the South. This movie came out in the late 1940s.
1946.
And is one of the most controversial films Disney's ever released. And it's so controversial that modern Disney will not release it on home video.
Or stream it.
That's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're going to get into it and actually talk about whether or not it's really that bad.
Yeah. If it's a good film, or is it a bad film, or is it in the middle?
So, and bear in mind, these are our opinions. If you disagree with us, that's fine.
Yeah.
If you get offended by this film for any reason, that's fine.
Yeah.
You don't have to, we do not have to agree.
Yeah.
And I apologize for offending you. I don't apologize for my opinion, but I do apologize for offending you. Never our intention.
No.
Never our intention to cause offense.
And there again, be like if you've never seen the film and you be like, maybe, oh my gosh, I've heard all these terrible things about this film.
Find it. We're not going to tell you where to find it.
Yeah, go find it.
Because we have a friend of 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 a friend get a copy of VHS version for us.
Yes. Yes. So go find the film wherever you can find it, because obviously Disney is not going to release this film.
Not anytime soon.
Not anytime soon. We don't know. Maybe in the future they might. Who knows?
We say that now, and you know what's going to happen.
What?
Tomorrow. No. They'll wait till Monday because tomorrow's the weekend.
Yeah.
The day after this episode releases into the wild,
yeah, Disney will
say, by the way, new on Disney Plus this week, the movie we never said we'd do.
Oh, wow. But yeah, so go out there, find the film for yourself, get your own opinion about the film, then come back and tell us what you think of the film.
Certified fresh and spoiler free.
So this is my 1.5 time seeing this.
1.5.
Yeah, there's a thing you've never heard.
A 1.5.
Because
I've heard before, yes.
Yeah, here's the thing.
Yeah.
I've seen the animated half of this film before.
Fair.
Because it was released on or was shown on Disney Channel, I think, at one time. Just the animated spots, not the live action stuff.
Yeah.
And that was recorded, and I've watched the animated stuff here before, though granted, most of my memories of it are from long past that point, because that bootleg VHS I wore out when I was too little to remember.
Fair.
Because that was not the bootleg VHS that had Rockadoodle on it. Might have been the one that had Charlotte's Web, now that I think about it.
Wow. That's another film we need to really review.
One day.
We'll get there.
But... So yeah, this is my 1.5 times watching this film. It's the first time for the live action stuff. And while I can, it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Here's a spoiler warning for the end of this review. It's an okay film. It's not great. It's not bad. It's just there.
Yeah.
It's the only reason it's famous is because people say it's got cultural insensitivities. I'll put it that way.
Yes, it does.
But other than that, it's like, well, it's an okay film.
Okay.
It's not bad. Animation when it's there is good, but it's still cheaper than other stuff even from this era. So just because this was at the end of, it's 2 years after World War II. Disney had not gotten a lot of their animators back yet.
2 years? World War II ended in 1945.
Okay, 1 year.
1 year.
In my mind, it was 44 was when VJ Day was. But I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Either way. But yeah, that's... Yeah. So it's an okay film. It's not great. And yeah. Neko Mata in our stream is saying, I love Charlotte's Web. The bad CGI 3D would be funny for a review. That's not the Charlotte's Web I'm talking about, Neko. I'm talking about the 1980s? 90s. I couldn't remember. Because it's not Ralph Bakshi. The other dude. That we've done so many of his films.
Yes. I'm drawing a blank. Hold on. I want to say Steve Jobs, but that's seeing completely.
No, it's the guy who. It's not either way. It's not him either.
It's not Franken.
It's not Rankin Bass. I don't remember who did Charlotte's Web.
I don't remember either.
But it's the 90s one is the one I'm talking about. Retro says it's 1973. I can actually kind of see that now. But either way, it's not him either. But I did watch that. Yeah. And that's not the one we're talking about, Neko. So, because I have seen the live action one and moving on. Oh, Retro says, are you talking about the book, Retro?
He's talking about the book.
Okay, hang on. We got to figure this out. Yes, I know I misspelled Charlotte. It'll get me there close.
Nope. He's looking for
kind of got me close.
That's the 2000.
That's the other one, but it'll get me there.
Where you need to go. AT&T, get out of the way. Yeah, this will be all Patreon, I assume.
More than likely.
Yeah.
It is 73.
There we go.
Debbie Reynolds, Henry Gibson. So yeah, it's not that I was ever doubting Retro, but yeah.
The guy did Ferngully.
No, it's not the 3D one like Toy Story. No, I didn't mean the book.
Yeah.
It is a 73 movie. Yes, it is a 73 movie.
Nice.
Anyway. Deedlet.
It looks like Toy Story, but wrong.
Okay. Jacob, what are your spoiler-free thoughts on this film?
My spoiler-free thoughts on The Song of the South. Now, I had heard of this film probably about the 90s because there again, I was a wee little lad in the 80s, and you start hearing things about the Song of the South and like zippity-doo-dah, zippity-day.
Oh my, what a wonderful day.
Yeah. So I heard about this song. I had heard about this movie called Song of the South. You couldn't see it anywhere. And apparently it was controversial. It is controversial.
Now, sorry, go ahead.
So again, kind of like Drew, be like, I saw some of the snippets, some of the animated features, scenes taken out of context. So this is my first time watching this film in its fully, in its entirety. And I just say, like, it's not the greatest film ever. It's a good film in some aspects. There are some aspects where you're like, okay, maybe a little dated here and there, maybe a little insensitive here, maybe a little here, a little there, something like that.
It's not as bad as the 80s have been.
No.
Putting that out there.
Yeah, personally, I enjoyed it for like the character of definitely Uncle Remus. I love that character. Oh my gosh. But just his character alone and the actor, oh my gosh, he brought it. Like he even got an Academy Award for this?
Yeah. This is an Academy Award winning film, guys.
Exactly.
From one of the first Academy Awards.
Just think about that for
it's not the first one Disney ever won, because that technically goes to Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs for a special achievement. And they literally gave him like his Oscar. The Oscar for that was one big statue with seven little smaller ones next to it.
Yes. But
anyway,
yeah, there are parts of the movies I really enjoy. I can see where the problem with this film is, but overall, I enjoyed it for the most part. It's not the greatest film ever. It's kind of like a meh, like Drew said, but I enjoyed it for what it is. So that's what I've got.
Now there is one other small thing we know at least the name Song of the South from, because we are both 90s kids who listened to country music.
Yes.
Growing up.
Yeah.
Because there was a song by Alabama called Song of the South.
Yes, I agree.
Sweet potato pie, and I shut my mouth.
Yeah.
Gone with the wind, ain't nobody looking back again. And I have wondered.
I stumbled across that in my research. Oh yeah, forgot about that song.
I have so wondered if the Song of the South that's mentioned in that song actually is referring to this movie, since the third line of that is referring to Gone with the Wind.
That is true.
But I could not find anything that connected the two. Other than apparently Alabama was the third peep group that actually recorded that song, but the first one it got popular with.
Really?
Right, but that's neither here nor there.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes.
Shall we get into our spoiler-filled review for this? The following is a spoiler-filled review for the film Song of the South. Listener discretion is advised. Song of the South was directed by Harv Foster and Wilford Jackson. Harv Foster also directed a couple episodes of The Adventures of Ren Tin Tin. And Wilford Jackson directed Cinderella. Or he would go on to anyway.
Yes.
It was written by Dalton S. Raymond, Morton Grant, Maurice Ralph, Bill Peets, Ralph White, and Vernon Stallings, and based on the newspaper column by Joel Chandler Harris. The cast includes James Baskett as both Uncle Remus and Briar Fox. And this was actually his final film.
Really?
Yeah, he apparently passed away not long after this.
Oh, wow.
But
I'd never heard of him before this film.
Going back, well, that's because his filmography prior to this does not have a lot of things that we would recognize in this day and age.
Okay.
But I thought it was funny. He played a character named Lazarus in something called Revenge of the Zombies from the 1940s.
Wow.
I didn't even know they did zombie stories in the 1940s. But either way, Bobby Driscoll was the voice of Johnny, or played Johnny, actually. And he was Peter Pan in Peter Pan.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Luana Patton played Ginny, or Guinea. I think it's Guinea.
Ginny.
Either way.
Yeah.
And she played a character of the same name as hers in Melody Time and Fun and Fancy Free.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
Ruth Warwick played Sally, or the mother. And in the movie Citizen Kane, she played Emily Kane, the wife, I believe.
Movie I have not seen yet, but I plan on doing it.
Apparently
it's one of these iconic films you have to watch.
I have seen it. It's a movie.
It's a movie.
I understand why people like it, but it's like, okay, the problem I have with Citizen Kane, short review here, it's overrated. It's a great film, but as much as it's talked up, it can never live up to the hype.
I gotcha.
That's the best thing I can say about it.
Gotcha.
Nick Stewart was the voice of Briar Bear. And in the movie It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, he played a migrant truck driver.
Oh, interesting.
And Johnny Lee was the voice of Brer Rabbit. And in the Dennis the Menace TV show from the 60s, he played Johnny the Locksmith. Guess how many Kingdom Hearts connections we have, Jacob?
Kingdom Hearts connections for a game that came out in the early 2000s and a movie that came out in 1946. None.
You were correct.
Unless they pulled audio from like
there is no
Cinderella
archive,
or something.
There's not any archive audio in this. Now, that being said, you can't always go by the age difference because there is one game
that is true
that does have an original actor.
That is
I'm
true.
not saying the gender of said actor because I want this to be a surprise whenever we get to them. We have not reviewed either movie they were in, but they were both in one of the Kingdom Hearts games. Actually, both their roles were in the Kingdom Hearts games, and they reprised their role for both roles.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
So bear that in mind whenever we get to those films.
Bear that in mind. Bump.
That's all I've got in cast list. What do we got in info and stuff?
All right.
This film was never released. I'm sorry.
Wow.
I am not trying to steal your thunder, but that's just like the first thing that came to mind.
I got more info than that. Come on.
I know. Continue.
All right. So IMDb, it has a 6.9 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes has a 50% score. Watch it. It is unavailable anywhere to go watch. Hint, none.
Check out the archive. I'm not going to tell you what archive this is, but if you know what if you know, you know.
Yeah.
It's on the archive.
It's on the archive. So go over there. Go check it out. Production was Walt Disney Productions, distributed by RKO Radio Pictures. That's how old this movie was.
Well, all the Disney stuff prior to the 50s?
Yeah, the early 50s.
Is all released by RKO.
Yeah.
Disney didn't start releasing their stuff until then.
Exactly.
Their own stuff, I mean.
Exactly. So, where was I?
For a while, this movie was in the same library as King Kong.
Wow.
Here's a thought you hadn't thought about.
No, I never thought of that.
RKO.
Yeah. Wow. Anyways, my mind is blown.
I just blew your mind that Disney and King Kong were in the same library at one time.
So, question, who now owns RKO?
RKO actually still exists.
Okay.
They are pretty much now a holding company that hold copyrights to the original film. However, the library was sold with all the rest of the RKO stuff was sold to Ted Turner in the 80s, which then got wrapped up into Warner Brothers.
Yes.
Which is why if you go and you buy either King Kong or Son of Kong, you have those are actually come on Warner Brothers discs. But, and we don't want to get into the whole Kong copyright information because good night is spaghetti.
But
basically that's until from that point until the Monsterverse, Kong hasn't been released by Warner Brothers. Every other film is released by somebody else.
Okay. Gotcha.
And it technically all rights to the movie or all rights to the script now belong to Universal.
Okay. That isn't confusing at all.
Hey, this involves Donkey Kong, but we talked about that 2 weeks ago.
We did. So, going back into info stuff, it has a runtime of 94 minutes. Release date, it was first released in November 12th, 1946. And it premiered countrywide on the 20th of the same year. Box office. Let's see. This is going off of the November 23rd, 1986 release. So its opening weekend for the United States and Canada was $7.3 million. Its U.S. and Canada gross was $37.4 million, and the same for domestic international release. Same. So let's go through a little bit. The film premiered November 12th, like I said, at Fox Studios in Atlanta, Georgia. Walt Disney made introductory remarks introducing the cast, then quickly left for his room at the Georgian Terrell Hotel across the street. He had previously stated that the unexpected audience reaction upset him, and he was better off not seeing the film with an audience. James Berkson, am I saying that right? The actor who played Uncle Remus.
Hang on. My thing had gone to sleep.
It's good.
James Baskett.
Yeah, James Baskett was this is sad because this is, the time period. People just let you know. James Baskett was unable to attend the premiere of his own film because he would not be allowed to participate in any kind of festival in Atlanta, Georgia, due to was when the city was racially segregated. So just to let you know, that was the time period. That's what happened. Let's see. Song of the South was re-released in theaters several times after its original premiere. Each time through Buena Vista Pictures in 1956 on its 10th year anniversary, 1972 for the 50th anniversary of Walt Disney Productions in 1973 for the second half of a double bill with the Aristocats in 1980 for the 100th anniversary of Harry's Classical Stories, and in 1986 for the film's 40th anniversary and promotion of the upcoming Splash Mountain attraction in Disneyland.
Fun fact, I have ridden Splash Mountain.
Huh.
Back when it was still Splash Mountain.
Yeah. It's currently being renovated.
Being turned into Tiana's River Bayou Cruise, something to that effect.
Yeah. It's gonna be
I apologize. I don't remember the name of it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it's just changing out theming more than anything else.
Probably. All right.
You'll no longer be zippity doo dah daying down Splash Mountain.
Yeah, which sounds sad. But either or, we're not here to talk about theme parks. We're here to talk about movies.
But I just brought that up since Splash Mountain is a thing.
Agree. And I just spoke about Splash Mountain.
Yes.
So home release. According to my notes, Walt Disney has not released a complete version of the film here in the United States on home video, given the film's controversial reputation. Over the years, Disney has made a variety of statements on whether and when the film would be re-released. From 1984 to 2005, CEO at the time, Michael Eisner, stated the film would not be released on home video here in the United States due to not wanting to have a disclaimer and fearing backlash and accusatory of racism, as Eisner requested. Uncle Remus was not featured in the Splash Mountain attraction, instead being replaced as a narrator by Briar Frog in the Tokyo Disneyland and Magic Kingdom version of the ride. In 2010, Disney CEO Bob Iger stated that there is no plan to release the film on DVD, calling the film, and I just lost how to pronounce this word.
Antiquated.
Yeah, I knew the word. It just went blank. Antiquated. Yeah.
Yeah. This film is antiquated.
Yeah.
Because Pinocchio isn't antiquated either.
Yeah. Anyways,
just say it. Anyway.
Yeah, agreed. Antiquated and fairly offensive. Fair enough. In 2010, Disney creative director David Bostert stated in an interview, "I can say that there is a lot of interesting discussion about Song of the South, and at some point we're going to do something about it. I don't know when, but we will. We know we want people to see Song of the South because we realize it's a big piece of the company's history, and we want to do it in the right way. Film critic
Then release it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that's what
Fair.
you need to do.
Fair. Film critic Roger Ebert, who normally despises any attempt to keep films away from audiences, supports the non-release of the film, arguing that Disney films have become a part of the consciousness of American children who take films more literally than adults. Fair, but I'll disagree with you on that.
Yeah.
Audio from the film, both the musical soundtrack and dialogue, was commonly used in home media tie-ins throughout the late 70s. In particular, many book to record sets were released featuring the animated portion of the film or summaries of the film as a whole. The Walt Disney Company has also included key portions of the film in DVD and Blu-ray combinations here in the United States, as well as on the long-running Walt Disney anthology television series Zippity Doo-Dah, and some of the animation portions appear in and additional features in the 2004 release of Alice in Wonderland on DVD. As part of the 1950s Christmas special, 1 Hour in Wonderland, which promoted the then forthcoming film, Alice in Wonderland. In 1986 and 2001, most of the musical segments, notably Zippity Doo-Dah, How Do You Do, and Everyone Gets a Laughing Place, were included on the DVD and Laserdisc releases of Disney Sing-Along Songs series.
This actually might be where I saw that was a sing-along song. Because I know it wasn't on the Valentine's Day special I wore it, but I had a couple other ones.
Yes.
Anyway.
The full-length film has been released in its entirety on VHS and Blu-ray and Laserdisc in various European and Asian markets. In the UK, it was released on PAL VHS between 1982 and 2000. In Japan, it appeared on NTCS, VHS, and Laserdisc in 1986, 1990, and 1992 with Japanese subtitles for the songs. And get this, under Japanese copyright law, the film is now under public domain.
Yeah.
I did not know this.
This happens.
Yeah, it does.
And I'll get more into at what point this will enter public domain, assuming Disney never does anything. Getting into the summary. 7-year-old Johnny is excited about what he believes to be a vacation at his grandmother's Georgia plantation with his parents, Sally and John Sr. When they arrive at the plantation, he discovers that his parents will be living apart temporarily, and he will live at the plantation with his mother and grandmother while his father returns to Atlanta to continue his controversial editorship of that city's newspaper. Distraught at his father's departure, Johnny secretly tries to leave for Atlanta that night with a bag. It's not the word to use, but I'm saying a bag because I don't know how to actually say that word. Okay. As Johnny sneaks away from the plantation, he discovers Uncle Remus telling tales of a character named Briar Rabbit to other sharecroppers on the plantation. By this time, word has gotten out that Johnny is missing and some plantation residents are looking for him. Johnny evades being discovered, but Uncle Remus catches up with him and offers him food for the journey and takes him back to his cabin where he tells the boy the traditional African-American folktale, Briar Rabbit earns $1 a minute. In the story, Briar Rabbit attempts to run away from home only to change his mind after an encounter with Briar Fox and Briar Bear. Johnny takes the advice and lets Uncle Remus take him back to Sally. Johnny makes friends with Toby, a young black boy who lives on the plantation, and Jenny Favors, a poor white girl. Jenny gives Johnny a puppy after her 2 older brothers, Joe and Jake, threaten to drown it. Sally refuses to let him take care of the puppy, so he takes it to Uncle Remus. Uncle Remus takes the dog in and delights Johnny and his friends with the fable of Briar Rabbit and the Tar Baby, stressing that people should not get involved with something they have no business with in the first place. Johnny imitates Briar Rabbit's use of reverse psychology from the tale and begs the Favors brothers not to tell their mother about the dog. Their mother about the dog. The trick works, and the boys get in trouble after telling their mother. In an act of revenge, they tell Sally about the dog. Sally becomes upset that Johnny and Uncle Remus kept the dog despite her order, which was unknown to Uncle Remus, and she instructs him not to tell him any more stories to Johnny. Johnny's birthday arrives, and Johnny picks up Jenny to take her to the party. On the way there, Joe and Jake push Jenny into a mud puddle. With her dress ruined, Jenny is unable to go to the party and runs off crying. Johnny begins fighting with the boys, but their fight is broken up by Uncle Remus, who reprimands Joe and Jake and warns them to keep away from Johnny and Jenny. Johnny runs off to confront Jenny. He explains that he did not want to go to the party either, especially since his father will not be there. Uncle Remus discovers both dejected children and cheers them up by telling the story of Brer Rabbit and his laughing place. When the three return to the plantation, Sally becomes angry at Johnny for missing the party and tells Uncle Remus to stay away from him. Saddened by the misunderstanding of the good intentions, Uncle Remus packs his bags and begins to leave for Atlanta. Johnny rushes to intercept him, but is attacked by a bull and seriously injured after taking a shortcut through a pasture. When Johnny hovers between life and death, his father returns. Johnny calls for Uncle Remus, and his grandmother escorts him in. Uncle Remus begins telling a Brer Rabbit tale, and the boy miraculously survives. Later, a fully recovered Johnny sings with Jenny and Toby while Johnny's returned puppy runs alongside them. Nearby, Uncle Remus is shocked when Brer Rabbit and several of the other characters from the stories appear in front of them and interact with the children. Uncle Remus rushes to join the group, and together they all walk into the sunset. Getting into the trivia for this. After abandoning his studies for pharmacology for financial reasons, James Baskett supported himself as an actor, moving from his hometown of Indianapolis, Indiana, to New York City, New York, and joining the company of Bill Robinson, better known as Mr. Bojangles. After achieving moderate success on the stage, Baskett and his family moved to Hollywood, where he found work in a couple of films. In 1945, he auditioned for a bit part of voicing a talking butterfly in this film. I thought that maybe they'd try me out to furnish the voice of one of Uncle Remus's animals, Baskett remarked. Upon the review of his voice, Walt Disney wanted to meet Baskett personally and had him tested for the role of Uncle Remus. Not only did Baskett get the part of the butterfly's voice, but also the voice of Brer Fox and the live-action role of Uncle Remus as well. Additionally, Baskett filled in as the audio of Brer Rabbit for Johnny Lee in the laughing place scene after Lee was called away to do promotion for the picture. Disney liked Baskett and told his sister Ruth Disney that Baskett was the best actor I believe to be discovered in years. This was one of the first Hollywood portrayals of a black actor as a non-comic character in a leading role in a film meant for general audiences. Even after the film's release, Disney maintained contact with Baskett, where the two became close friends, like brothers. Disney also campaigned for Baskett to be given an Academy Award for his performance, saying that he had worked almost wholly without direction and had devised the characterization of Remus himself. Thanks to Disney's efforts, Baskett won an honorary Academy Award in 1948, 4 months after the Academy Awards ceremony. James Baskett died from a heart failure resulting from diabetes. After his death, James's widow, Margaret, wrote a letter to Disney and told him that he had been a friend indeed, and we certainly have been in need. Owing to the significant and continued controversy surrounding public perception of the film's treatment of slavery, although it is actually set in post-Civil War Reconstruction in the 1870s.
Thank you.
A period in which new systems of labor emerged to take the place of slavery, and the portrayal of its African-American characters, the Disney Corporation has been reluctant to reissue the film in the United States, having last been seen legally in theaters in 1986. The studio did make the film available on video in Europe and Asia, and bootleg copies are frequently derived from them. As the Disney company has never released the film on home video in the US, the film will actually go into public domain in 2039, and Disney will lose all copyrights to the film if it does not get it released again, physically in theaters or home video, or even by digitally streaming for rental or purchase. Once Whoopi Goldberg was inaugurated as a Disney legend, one of her first requests to the Walt Disney Company was for them to finally release this film to the public and to stop hiding from and being ashamed of their own past. And that's all I've got for the trivia.
Gotcha.
Jacob, what is your first like for this film?
My first like for this film would be I think it would be a crying shame, but my first like of this film would be James Baskett as Uncle Remus, because I absolutely, when he came on film, oh my gosh, he lit up the entire scene. It's like as his character, as Uncle Remus.
I would say he's the heart and soul of this film.
Oh yeah, you're not kidding. the fact that like this man who is a very a larger than life, would not be like stature or just like his prowess and who he is and his personality just shines throughout this entire film. And the fact that he is a storyteller who's trying to give wisdom to these younger characters in life. Like little Johnny, he's so conflicted with everything, and Uncle Remus comes along with this gentle, loving, compassionate older man who just kind of mentors this young man and tries to teach him different ways of like the stuff that he learned as a child and passing that knowledge on to a different generation, which I love. It was so fun. And there again, this is a 1946 film, and it's just done so, oh my gosh, I haven't seen performances like that in forever. Oh my gosh. Be like, yeah, we have more modern stuff like that you have just actors who come in and just pull the role and make it their own, and they just shine every single frame they're in. And that is James Baskett in a nutshell. This man was dynamite every time. Be like, he came into frame, I smiled. It's okay. What's going to happen with his mannerisms, the way he speaks, the way he like walks into a scene, and how joyful and everything about his performance I loved. It was so good. So yes, James Baskett's performance as Uncle Remus was fantastic. Wonderful.
You know, I'm going to dovetail off that, and that's going to be my first like also, because honestly, he is the starring role for this film. Everything else really is centered around him. It is, I still say it is a crying shame that this role, this performance is not easily available to be seen because Disney's reluctance, I'll say, to release this.
Yes.
Because does such a good job in this film. He's not played for laughs. He has a serious role. And he's fun to watch.
Oh yeah.
James Baskett just does such a good job, especially since he does like the most of the live action in cartoon scenes. And he does such a good job reacting to the animated characters that, are not there. And this is at a time when what they're asking him to do must seem crazy. And they're saying they're going to animate these characters walking around based off of your movements. So just act like you would if you happen to see a bluebird sitting on your shoulder. And, as you're singing along and as you're getting ready to go fishing next to Briar Frog. And it's like, he does such a good job with that acting. He does such a good job with the kids. Honestly, it's because of how much a good job he does with this that I really do consider the villain of this film to be the mother. Because honestly, I'm not saying every film has to be, have a villain.
Yeah.
But she's the closest thing to an antagonist in here. And even her, the only thing she does is, besides dressing Johnny up like he's a little girl.
It was the 40s. Come on.
And it's portraying the 1870s.
True.
And admittedly, when that first shot of them coming into scene, and we see Johnny sitting next to, I'm assuming his nursemaid, his nanny. I don't know what role she actually was, but the African American woman in the car with him.
Yeah.
I looked at that and thought that was a girl. And then they kept saying and honestly, a boy of that age, actually, if you think it's a girl, it kind of sounds like a girl, unfortunately, because the voice hasn't dropped yet. And as a kid actor, he's doing the best he can, which he does a good job. But then they kept saying Johnny and calling him a guy, and I'm going, that's a guy? That's a boy?
Poor Johnny.
I'm sorry,
Poor Johnny.
And he has to put up with this like the whole film. Oh yeah. And I'm sitting there going, this boy needs his father because his mother is obviously confused about who Johnny is her son.
Well, hold on. Let's back the train up a little bit here. Okay.
In the 1940s, I think I can get away with that distinction in when it comes to gender.
Cool. I agree with you. So to kind of, this movie was made back in the late 40s. And now, granted, my father was born in 49.
Yeah.
So there is a picture of my father, who is a man, a boy at the time, a very small boy, who is in a dress. So
I understand
that back then historically,
that is what they did.
That's what they did.
I understand that.
Yes.
This is back when pink was for boys and blue was for girls.
Yeah, agreed.
I don't remember exactly when that switch was, but I think it's back around this time.
Something like that.
Oh, no, it's Teddy Roosevelt when it switches, I think.
That's right. That makes sense.
So that's
Teddy.
Yeah. Either way,
Yes.
he invented the teddy bear too. So
Yeah. Or the teddy bear was inspired by him.
either way,
Yes.
see,
Teddy-
I do know history.
Yeah. Teddy Roosevelt, probably one of the best presidents we ever had.
Probably. Either way, back to my point.
Yes.
He does such a good job with this kid, and with very much with everyone on scene and on screen.
Yes.
He just does such a good job. He's such a great actor, and yeah, if that is true, that he had almost no direction and played this like legit, this was his instincts.
Yeah.
He should have had more acting roles.
Oh, you're not kidding.
He should have had more jobs, and it's a real shame that and Grant, thankfully, his estate probably did at least receive some royalties.
Yeah, they did.
For this until the 80s when Disney got ashamed of it. But it's a real shame that our generation didn't actually get to see his performance.
True.
So,
Which is a shame.
Yeah.
Come on, Disney, do better.
So yeah, James Baskett, great actor. Wish we got to see him in more things.
Yes.
What's your second like?
My second this is going for the animation. This is the late 40s animation. Be like it's done very well for its time period. I know some people would nowadays be like, it wasn't that good. But like, think about the time period. But overall, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just saying, the only reason I kind of say it's a little bit cheaper, the animation wise, is because this really feels more like what they were doing for their cartoons of this time period, their theatrical shorts, than for like what they were doing for their full theatrical movies.
Oh, I agree.
All I mean by that.
Oh, I agree. One of my biggest case for that is the last big animation segment is where Briar Rabbit has been caught by Briar Fox, and the what I believe my own headcanon is this point where Briar Rabbit was possibly an inspiration for Bugs Bunny. Because
there's so much.
There's so much parallel.
So we did some research on this right before the show, and it didn't get into our thing. But yeah, this movie did come out after Bugs Bunny was created.
Yes.
However, the character technically would have been Briar Rabbit, or at least a version of him would have been created back in the 1870s for the newspaper. So it is very, and possibly even farther back, since this is a character in a lot of old folklore.
Yeah.
African-American folklore.
Yeah.
So more than likely, Bugs Bunny might actually be inspired by Briar Rabbit.
Possibly.
And almost, and it's just for me watching it, it really feels like Disney kind of did an homage to that relationship, because Briar Rabbit sometimes acts just like Bugs.
He does.
Even seems to have the same facial expressions sometimes. It's still done in a Disney way, don't get me wrong, but it really does feel like we know these characters have relation. One was inspiration for the other.
Yeah.
So we're just going to keep everything in line and do a little bit of Bugs Bunny in this version of Briar Rabbit.
Yes. So, oh my gosh. Like the last...
There is a lot of Tex Avery, it seems like, in that animation.
You are not kidding. You are not kidding. So that last scene where Briar Rabbit has been captured by Briar Fox and Briar Bear, that is really hard to say and not get tongue-tied.
You think it's hard to say? I had to write those names a couple times. Do you know how do you spell Briar? BR''ER.
Yeah, Briar.
And it's short for brother.
Yeah. Brother Bear.
That movie came out in the 2000s.
It did.
I wonder if there's connection.
Probably.
I haven't watched the movie Brother Bear, but if he goes in and says, I'm gonna knock his head clean off, I will go, I know what this is in relation to.
I get that reference.
I think I got that right.
But that last full animated segment where Briar Rabbit has been captured, and the cleverness of the animation in it, the way that Briar Rabbit is very cleverly, very Bugs Bunny like, trying to get out of a situation where he is trying to confuse Briar Fox and Briar Bear into.
Like it was that hard to confuse Briar Bear.
That is so true. I mean, like I love these characters in so many micro ways, but Briar Rabbit is just like in the entirety. Be like, yeah, he learns from his mistakes, obviously, but you have this like overly like cleverness. He's going to out-juke his opponents by using reverse psychology on them in order to make them do what he wants them to do, just like
Bugs Bunny.
Bugs Bunny does.
Like that's Bugs Bunny in a nutshell. That's how he beat Elmer Fudd half the time.
Or Daffy Duck.
Wabbit season, duck season, wabbit season, duck season, wabbit season, wabbit season, duck season, wabbit season, duck season, fire, boom.
Yes.
I need someone to edit the video from this with the audio from that.
So I find that very clever. Definitely when the don't throw me in the briar patch scene. I love it because it's so well written. It's got the Tex Avery wipe all over it, and it's so beautifully done. And there again, be like, I know Disney will never do it, but I wish they would go back and kind of do these in more modern animation, but they'll probably never do it. But this, like, in its isolated itself, this scene is so well done because you get to see the brilliance of Briar Rabbit and the utter befuddlement of Briar. Be like, bro, Briar Fox be like, he wants his rabbit. And then you have poor Briar Bear, who is, hate to say it, he's dumber than a brick of a character.
He's the Goofy of this, except Goofy was smarter.
That is true. And so Briar Fox would be Donald?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of a Donald.
And I can see Briar Rabbit as Mickey.
Yeah.
The earlier Mickey, not the modern, cleaned up, whitewashed Mickey.
Yeah, true. But
the corporate Mickey.
Corporate Mickey. Yeah.
That's what it is. It's corporate Mickey.
It's corporate Mickey. There we go. But this is, oh my gosh, I love this entire segment. It's so well done. And definitely how Uncle Remus kind of weaves his story and tells these kids like these very important moral lessons that they need to hear, even though be like he cannot help himself but speak, kind of like the apostles say in Acts, where like we cannot help ourselves but speak of what Christ has done. So in that way, be like you're telling a story which you can't be like. Imagine if you got a story to tell, or someone's this bit of information that's going to help somebody, and you just can't help but say it. That's Uncle Remus to a T. Yeah. He is a bona fide storyteller who cannot help but tell stories. And I love this last segment. The animation is good, and this scene is just done so incredibly well. So yeah, that's my second like.
My second like for this is related because the animation in this is good. It's very good. But the memorable one for me, I'm sorry, is going to be the Tar Baby.
Tar Baby. Oh, poor Briar Bear. Oh my gosh. How?
First off, this is the longest of them.
Yes,
it's so long that they actually split it in the middle. So for a quick live action scene before they come back into it. But yeah, this is my favorite one. I will admit, before I sat down and watched this, knowing about the controversies surrounding this film, I'll get more into this when we get to dislikes, but I was expecting like the Tar Baby, the actual design of it, because I know I'd seen this a long time ago, but honestly, my memory of this is all faulty. So in my mind, I was half expecting the design of the Tar Baby to end up being racist.
Okay.
like blackface.
Okay, fair
It's
enough. I
honestly
see that.
what I was expecting, because it's like, because you gotta remember, I'm hearing all this controversy about how this is a racist film, and I'm going into it expecting to see like these horribly racist things from the 40s when that was stuff that was based in the South, because even Disney with its cartoons from this time period is guilty of this.
Agreed.
And the Tar Baby actually is just not racist at all. It's just it's made out of tar that somehow they've shaped, and that's what. But that whole segment there, where it starts off with the song "How You Doing," and it's like the four lines like "How you doing? Fine. How are you? How you getting along? Pretty good, as sure as you're born."
Yeah.
Starting from there, that whole segment with Brer Rabbit hopping down.
That was done very well too.
The animation is done there very well. The scene with where Uncle Remus actually sits down next to Brer Frog to fish, and
oh my gosh,
Uncle Remus goes to throw out his line. That is not a live action line.
No, it's not.
It's fully animated, and it is done
brilliantly,
very well, very fluid. And then that whole segment leading up to that, especially with the writing, with starting off with, which hat does the Tar Baby get? Brer Foxes or Brer Bears? That whole back and forth was brilliant. It's like this is Three Stooges level slapstick in this.
You are not.
And
kidding.
then they get it out there just before Brer Rabbit's able to get there, and Brer Bear has taken his hat back, and the Tar Baby's head is still stuck through it. And so Brer Fox is looking back at the Tar Baby with just the broom handle, I'm assuming that was like the structure. He just sees that and realizes, oh crud, and sees that Brer Bear's wearing the hat with the Tar Baby head still in it.
So he rips it off.
So he rips it off, which gives it hair. And then goes and sticks it back on the thing just before Brer Rabbit. And of course, you get this whole thing where Brer Rabbit says, "How do you do?" like he said to every other animal. And of course, Tar Baby doesn't answer. And I love how the narration acts like the Tar Baby should be answering him. Actually, the Tar Baby didn't say anything. I'm thinking, of course, it's not even real. It's not alive. And then, of course, Brer Rabbit eventually gets fed up with it, punches the thing in the mouth, and of course gets stuck in the tar that's made this thing up. And then the rest of it is the whole thing is what are we going to do now that we've got him? Because very much Brer Fox kind of has not thought this far ahead.
No, he hasn't.
It's like, we're going to make a stew. We're going to make food. We're going to make all this other stuff. And all Brer Bear wants to do is, I'm going to knock his head clean off. Says, no, he's got to suffer. And I'm thinking, Brer Fox, you're an idiot. Because if you just let Brer Bear do what he wants to do, Brer Rabbit's done. This is a short movie. If you'd have just let Brer Bear do what he wanted to do. And of course, he's the reverse psychology to saying, don't throw me in that briar patch. Don't throw me in that briar patch. We'd already been revealed to us in the first short that he lived in a briar patch. And Brer Fox thinks he's being clever and throws Brer Rabbit into the briar patch. And Brer Rabbit, for a very short minute, acts like, all those stickers and thorns, I'm gonna die, da, da, da. And he just jumps out onto the fences. Actually, psych, I live in a briar patch. I'll see you fools later. And bounces down the road on the fence. And I'm going, Bugs Bunny, this has a lot of Bugs Bunny energy. This was when I first started suspecting that maybe Brer Rabbit was based off Bugs Bunny.
Yes. Because
timeline-wise, Bugs Bunny, I knew, predated this film. Then I did research and realized Brer Rabbit predates Bugs Bunny by a long shot.
Yes.
So more than likely, the Bugs Bunny was based off Brer Rabbit, not the other way around. It is done so well.
Agreed.
And that's why that is actually my favorite short, because, dude, that's Looney Tunes.
To a T.
Disney does not do this style comedy that often.
Yeah,
they almost never do.
Agreed.
And here they show they can do it and do it perfectly well. And I wish they'd have done more of it.
Agreed.
But yeah. Brer Rabbit and the Tar Baby, my favorite short of this film. And like we said, the animation in this is spectacular.
Agreed.
So what is your third like?
My third like, oh my gosh. There's parts of the story I like here and there. Be like it's not, because the focus of this film is the animation parts.
Yeah,
for the most part.
It really feels like they wanted to do a fully animated Brer Rabbit film. I've looked this up. This is not exactly how it went, or at least they knew they couldn't do a fully Brer animated film because they would not have enough animators.
Yeah.
Because like you said, this is a year after World War II. A lot of their animators probably hadn't even made it back to the United States yet.
Yeah, exactly.
We know there's like 4 other movies that are in production at Disney right now, including one we've already reviewed, Ichabod and Mr. Toad.
Yes.
And literally in that one, when we did that review, they mentioned that one of the animators stopped animating one scene, went and fought in World War II, came back and started where he left off, because that's literally how little progress had been made in that film during that time period, and they were all under that sort of constraint. So here, just to get the film out, we have maybe a grand total of what, 15 minutes, 20 minutes of animation,
an hour and a half film,
So anyway, sorry.
Yeah, the animation in this film stands out it's so well done, definitely for its time period. There's parts of this story is so well done. For me, it's always Uncle Remus and Gene Basket, his performance as a character, and like every scene where that man is in frame, it doesn't matter if he's like, when our introduction of characters and we're talking about Uncle Remus and how everything kind of flows. And now I understand some people are more like, oh no, be like they water down everything, but historically it's like, well,
this is not a historical film.
No, it's not.
It takes place at a time period as its setting. It admittedly, the worst part about that is they didn't bother to say it was post Civil War.
Yeah.
Because honestly, this looks like it could be either one.
Yeah, it's
unfortunately a very romanticized, well-liked version of either one. But
yeah,
I mean, what do you want us to show outside of putting a year on it?
Yeah,
to show how things are.
Exactly.
Statistically, Granny here can't be the only one who was actually nice to the people who worked for her, even when they were forced to work for her.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Like the story itself is very well done. It's done, I don't know, I'm saying it tastefully was done very well.
Yeah.
Now, granted, some people are going to fight me over that beyond belief, but I think the story,
we're going to receive people saying we're wrong with this movie, no matter what.
Probably, it doesn't matter.
And that's the only reason I feel like I can talk about it as nice as safely as this.
Yeah.
It's like, y'all are going to hate our opinion anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So, be like, the story itself is done very well. If we're talking just more like story wise with characters getting along, and it's there again, it's a kind of romanticized version of what the Reconstruction period would have been or what it was. And so
not that we're saying everything was, roses.
Exactly. It wasn't.
There was just as many problems then as we have now.
Exactly. And
if not more.
And plus, be like, if you don't learn from history,
you're doomed to repeat
it. So, yeah. And like Drew said, be like, there are things in the Disney vault during this time period.
There are things Disney's released since then I think actually are more culturally insensitive to black people.
You're not kidding.
To African Americans.
Yes. Oh my gosh. But yeah, like I like the story in some capacities. There's like, definitely when you're talking about Uncle Remus, oh my gosh. Love that character to death. I agree with Whoopi Goldberg.
Release the film,
Disney. Come on.
Get some courage. Which is the nice way of what I actually want to say, but this is a family-friendly podcast.
Yes. So, like, there are parts of the story I really enjoy. Definitely with like little Johnny and his confliction, where he wants his father back, and this whole dynamic of Johnny and his father. And then you have not Sally, what's her name? Ginny and her family. So he sees that her father has returned, and so he gets jealous over that. And his whole dynamic of be like, he kind of has a father figure in Uncle Remus, and then you have like a grandfather at least, or a father figure in his life. And like, yeah, I enjoyed there's some parts of the story I really, really enjoy. Definitely the dynamic between Johnny and his best friend at the plantation. I love that. It's two little boys being boys.
Yeah.
And they're just having fun with each other. You know, there's no
no hatred between them at all.
There's two friends being friends.
No class separation. No nothing.
Yeah,
They're just
exactly.
two boys who are hanging out on the farm.
Exactly. Or plantation. Whatever.
I'm sure they were growing cotton out there.
Yeah, probably. Maybe. Who knows? I don't know.
They were close enough. They were a carriage ride away from Atlanta in obviously a day.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way he would have got back there that fast.
That is true.
That's father.
That is true. That is so true. So yeah, some of the bits of the story are so well done. The mother's confliction with everything.
She's just trying her best.
She's trying her best. She's trying to protect her son. And like Uncle Remus being the storyteller he is, the grandmother being the grandmother, the father, you know, I don't know what his deal is. Maybe he's got a mistress back in Atlanta. I don't know.
No, he's got a controversial newspaper he's running, apparently.
That's true. That's true. So it's a controversial newspaper. So there are parts of the story I enjoy, and I can tell where some people it's like, oh no, because it doesn't do this, or it washes out a lot of this, what happened during Reconstruction. I get that, but if you're talking about a general story, it's done very well. So yeah, the story for the most part.
That being said, the carpetbaggers were worse than most of the people in the South, and the carpetbaggers were from the North. Anyways, just putting all that out there.
Yes,
because I'm not wrong.
No, you're not.
Moving on.
Yes. What's your third?
Third I like for this is Jenny.
Jenny. Okay.
I
get that.
Of all of the characters that he runs across.
Yes.
For one thing, Johnny as a child actor does okay.
Yeah, he does fine.
You can tell he is at least in character. Granted, his character was pretty much himself in these situations where he's forced to dress like a girl. But Jenny is just such a delight to watch. I mean, admittedly, our first meeting with her is her protecting her dog from her two idiot brothers who, honestly, they're going to be white trash forever. They are.
Agreed.
She actually probably could get out of that situation. But those boys, they're going to end up in the Atlanta County Jail at some point. They just are. I don't know what the county in Atlanta is, obviously.
You didn't look that up?
No, you'd think I know, considering my roots go back to Atlanta.
That's true.
You'd think I know. There is a middle school with my last name on it, but I don't know who it's named after.
Oh,
but you'd think I know.
Yeah, you would think.
But no,
no.
Jenny is like so adorable throughout the entire film, especially when she is so excited to go to that party. I think it's more like she's just excited to get dressed up and go have fun. More
and
than,
cake.
Like
she's excited about the cake.
She really wants cake. But when she shows her manners and she does that curtsy and goes, "Pleased to meet ya," it's like, you are a jewel, Jenny. You are the diamond in this rough.
Oh man.
So yeah, Jenny is my third, like, 'cause she's such a delight to watch. I was always happy when she was on screen.
Nice.
So notice she still had the lace collar at the end of the film.
Yes, she did. She did. She really loved that lace.
Mother doesn't want him to have the dog, but never asks what happened to that lace collar that his other grandmother made for him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of going off that, because Ginny just is this third young character who shows up, and is obviously the youngest of the three, the two bimbo characters. Bimbo characters. It's like
I'm assuming you're talking about her brothers.
Her brothers. That's what it meant.
I think bimbo is not the word I've heard used for guys.
doofuses. Let's go. Rednecks.
The worst kind of rednecks.
You're not kidding. But I love that Ginny, she selling Johnny. It's like, oh, my mama, made this for me. And obviously it's, that part, that time period and that kind of stuff where you would make something. She made it from her own wedding dress, which I thought was so sweet and so kind.
Only for those two idiot boys to ruin it.
Oh my gosh, really? Be like, you are so
those boys need a whooping.
Well, they do get a switching earlier.
They need worse than that.
You're not kidding. And anyways,
those boys need the belt.
Yeah. Yeah. The story of me wants to talk about that, but I'm not going to.
We'll move on.
Yeah, we'll move on. But Ginny as a character, I thought it was so sweet. And then when she gets pushed down by her idiot brothers because they are so jealous and petty towards Johnny. And what I understand, Johnny and his family be like, they're not rich. Be like, but they have a grandmother who's has land.
They're probably like middle class in Atlanta, probably.
Maybe, I don't know.
And well, his father is the editor of the newspaper.
Yeah.
He probably at that time probably means he owns that newspaper.
Maybe.
And obviously he's being very controversial, which probably means he's selling a ton of newspapers.
Probably.
Which means they probably have some money.
Yeah.
But if they are rich, they're on the low end of rich.
Agreed. So
they are going up when they go out to grandma's plantation.
Right. So the whole reason I set that up is because when Johnny and Ginny Johnny goes to console Ginny when her idiot brothers push her down, which would be like, if I was in Johnny's situation, I would have be like, I'm sorry, the younger idiot brother would have been a little more serious in pain for that.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, you're pushing my friend who's a girl down. I'm going to beat you up. I don't care if you're a sister. I don't care. But the point where Uncle Remus shows up and he tells the other story, and the money shot for the actors who played Ginny, she looks up and those little blue eyes, and they're like she's crying. It's like just money shot. Oh my gosh, beautiful shot, beautiful one. And they do it twice in the same scene. It's done beautifully. And there again, these are child actors. They're not professionally, they're professional in a child sense from the 1940s, where it was like, oh, because you're this, or you be like, because your parents are this or this or this or this. Like, it was just done so wonderfully. So wonderful. And it's just like how it's shot and set up and the whole bit. It's great. I thought it was great. And I'll get into something my dislikes by Ginny in a little bit later. But yeah, I agree. It's a great little actress. And when she comes on scene, it's just so freaking cute. Either or. That is your third dislike?
Yes.
All right. So let's get into our dislikes.
Indeed. What is your first dislike?
My dislike, okay, so we raved and just gushed all over the animation of this movie, right?
Yeah.
There again, this is a nitpick. Yeah. Nitpick. Kind of like Briar Rabbit in the Briar Patch. Little bit of nitpick, and it's when Uncle Remus and all the other live action actors interact with the animated characters. Yeah. There's it doesn't really, it flows, but it doesn't. Like, yeah, there are some scenes where it works, others it doesn't. There again, we're working in the 1940s here.
And this is only like the second or third film to have this mix of animation and live action.
Yes.
The only other ones I can think of, if this even counts, technically would be, King Kong's got stop motion animation and live acting on screen where it's composited in there, but those are not, on most cases, directly interacting. This is like the third. What I mean is like, yeah, characters are interacting with actors back and forth. Yeah. And yeah, this is only the third time this has ever been done. So
yeah, just be like,
second or third time.
There again, be like, it's, it's new technology. They're still learning. And there's little issues like where Uncle Remus is looking, maybe like the bird is off by a C or this or this. And so in that same, be like, there's little animation there. It's a little bit off, but there again, it's new technology. The fun part of that is like, I think at the very end when the dog comes back, thankfully the dog didn't get drowned by the idiot brothers.
I'm fairly certain that them telling their mother is what allowed that dog to survive when it went back to Jenny's house.
Probably. But that scene where the dog is like the dog and the frog are interacting, because I love that little bit of animation. That is so well done, because they just track where the dog, like it's like, oh, here, and they drew the animation where the dog was following the frog. I thought it was great. So there again, my first is a nitpick, because there again, it's brand new animation. They're still learning, and in some weird ways and some more modern, it looks better, just a little bit. Looks a little better than sometimes nowadays. Just saying. What's your first dislike?
Chekhov's bowl.
You're not kidding. Chekhov's bowl.
And for those of you who don't know, I'm actually referring to Chekhov's gun.
Yes,
which is a trope that states if you see a gun on stage in Act 1, it will go off in Act 3.
Yeah, and this movie does.
Except here, it's a bull.
Yeah.
And first, for one thing, this is the most calm bull.
You're not kidding.
It's like, are you sure this is not a cow that you have tied bull horns to? Because it kind of looks like you tied bull horns to a cow. This doesn't look like it's an actual bull, though I'm just going to let it go because it might be an actual bull and I just don't know.
Yeah.
But good night. The minute they showed that bull on screen,
you knew it was coming.
Like, this kid's going to get gored.
Or at least
in a Disney film.
Wow.
They won't show that on screen,
No.
but still dark Disney. That's dark for you. So yeah. But so the minute I did like how
Chekhov's bowl.
Yeah, I did like how at least his friend was showing them how to make sure that the wind wasn't blowing, because I actually do that when I'm trying to determine the direction.
Oh, that
of the
makes
wind.
sense.
I've been doing that for years, and because I picked it up from my dad. I don't know if he got it from this film. I almost doubt he did, but I mean, it works. You can tell what direction if you wet your finger, put it up in the air, and whichever way gets colder first, that's where the wind's blowing from.
Fair.
If you're ever trying to figure it out and you can't tell just naturally.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like how they showed that, because it's like, that's the first time I've seen this on screen. That's the first time I've seen this outside of this family. And it's on a Disney film that's controversial because of cultural insensitivities.
Yes.
Yeah. That's a thing. So yeah, Chekhov's bull is my first dislike, because man, is it ever obvious. Now, granted, at this time, it may not have been as obvious to most people.
Probably
and
not.
admittedly, me and you have seen a lot of films, and so we see these tropes so many times we can see them coming before they happen.
I saw it coming. It used to be like the little friend points him out, and it's like, oh yeah, you don't want to. It's like, really. Be like, you can't be more subtle.
We're just waiting now for when the boy is going to run across the field and get chased by the bull.
Which obviously in the footage you can tell where the bull.
You can tell it's two different shots.
It's in two different shots, and always the bull's like, here's Johnny and here's the bull right here.
And they were never in the field at the same time.
Or
because of course they wouldn't be.
Of course they wouldn't.
But they don't do anything to really make it appear that they are.
Yeah. All right. So going in my
second dislike.
Second dislike. Jenny's muddy dress. So here's my point.
You mean where it looks like someone spilled applesauce on it and called it mud?
In some cases, yes.
Because it doesn't look like mud.
Okay, so be like you have the point where her idiot brothers push her down because they're so jealous of Johnny. And there again, be like the boy number 2 would have got his head knocked in. Let's just say that. Did that to a friend of mine. But he got their head knocked in. Let's say that. But be like she runs off. The patterns where the mud is different. And so by the time we get to her again, it's different. And so every other scene, the spots are different. They've dried or they're in different parts on the dress.
Yeah.
And the entire time, no one has decided, hey, let's bring this girl, up to the house, get her stuff cleaned, and get her something new to wear. But no, let's just have poor little Ginny running around in her mother's modified wedding dress. But what I'm getting there is the inconsistency within the shots to have Ginny's dress in the same consistency throughout it. Now, I understand it's early in cinema. This is the kind of thing you don't think about because this is more of a modern idea of consistency. And what is the word I'm looking for?
Continuity.
Yeah, you're looking for more continuity. And this was something back in the 40s, 30s, 40s, 50s, even the 60s. They didn't think about these things. But yeah, I'll be like, it's so just like, okay, did she fall into another mud pit or another puddle? And is this another dress? Or what's going on? Because they look different throughout the shots. So
I just love the idea. I for some reason now have this mental picture that every time they had to reset up that shot, because it might have taken them a couple days to get through all those scenes.
Oh yeah.
And like every day it's like, okay, Jenny, or whatever the actress's name is, we got to do the scene, and of course we cleaned your dress, but we need to make sure your dress is muddy, so hold still, boop, push you right back down in the mud puddle. My gosh. That's probably not what happened. It's just a horrible thing that popped in my mind. But it's like, yeah, surely that, but obviously it's not what they did, because half the time that mud stain doesn't look like it's actually made with mud.
That is true.
It looks like applesauce.
That is so true.
But my second dislike is a nitpick that has plagued me through many films of this era. Perfectly good films have this issue, and it's the thing that bugs me but doesn't bug a lot of people.
Yes.
And that is the night filter.
Oh, yeah.
Because so many of these scenes are so obviously shot during the daytime.
They put a filter on.
They put a filter on to make it darker, except those are painfully, obviously sun beams in those shadows, not moon beams. It's so the shadows play differently, because shadows from moonlight generally are softer because the light's already reflected off the moon once, so it's not as strong as it was when it came off the sun. And I understand that, yeah, they probably could not have shot the stuff at night with that sort of that film's the era's equipment, because, well, for one thing, that's from what I remember, they almost had no iris, no aperture, and they definitely don't have a shutter. I mean, they have aperture. That's what it is. They can't control shutter, because the shutter still has to go at 27 frames per second, I believe, is what films this time period were doing, which was literally. Which, if you ever are curious why they determined such a random number for how many frames per second film needed to be, here's a fun little piece of trivia. That was about the average speed most people back in the early days of film that the operators would when they were having to hand crank the projector and hand crank the actual camera to actually turn all this stuff, because they had no batteries. That was the average speed that the people worked. So it was about 27 frames per second, not 30, not 60. It was 27. That's about how long it took to that crank again to keep it steady. It's like 27 frames. It's purely a mechanical reason, and that is why to this day it's still 27.25 or something. It's some weird decimal number.
Yes,
because if it was obviously done in modern days, it would be a flat 30 or a flat, But either way, so I get that they probably could not actually film at night. Yeah. But it's just, I've seen so many films, modern era films, where I've seen what it looks like when you shoot at night, that it's painfully obvious these were shot during the day, just with a night filter put on it, and it is a thing that will bug me for probably for as long as I live. Much like I can always tell when they have a rear projected screen on something. It's just obvious to me, and that's just nothing I can do about it. So yeah, it's the thing that bugs me. That's why I put it as my second dislike. What's your third dislike?
My second dislike would be some of the editing choices.
What you mean your third?
Third, that's what I meant to say. I said second, but I meant third.
Yes.
Third dislike would be some of the editing choices in the film. Now, I'm not saying be like this film was like edited, or be like the film was edited, obviously, like every film is, but there's some like very weird jumps in editing where you have like Uncle Remus is talking with the grandmother, and it's just like either they didn't know how to edit this around, maybe there was like a flub here or a flub here in a dialogue, but they had to cut down some of the because there again, you're working with the technology from the late 1940s, and like some of the editing is just a little bit weird. There's some jumps here and there in editing, and there again, we're not dealing with 21st century technology here. We're dealing with early cinematic technology. So you're dealing with the technology you have and how to edit. But it's just, I thought that was a little nitpick. Some of the editing was a little bit like wonky. Definitely that scene where Uncle Remus is talking with the grandmother. And there again, that's a sweet scene. Do not get me wrong, it's a very sweet scene between the two characters. And but it's just some of the editing. It's just like Uncle Remus will be talking, and then the frame jumps, and he's in a different position, and he's talking about the same thing. It's like they didn't have time to go back and like obviously they would do reshoots, but nothing like we do now. But it's a little bit weird. It's a little bit weird. It's like maybe the camera came down and they just edited just the way they could. It's just a little editing issues. That's all. That's my third.
My third dislike for this film, the fact that it's so hard to get a hold of.
Oh, you're not kidding. You are not kidding.
And honestly, yeah, I get why people say this is culturally insensitive. They actually say a lot worse, but I don't feel comfortable saying it's.
Yeah.
I don't feel comfortable saying this film is racist.
Right.
Because honestly, while I understand why other people say it is, honestly, it doesn't feel like it to me. Because if it were racist, in my mind, maybe this is not the definition of racism most people use, but to me, if it were racist, there would be hate in this film.
Oh, yeah.
There is, outside of us hating Jenny's older brothers, there's no hate for anyone in this film.
There's not.
There's no, they are not making a mockery of anybody.
Yeah.
Black, white, anybody. I mean, they even show, we have a white trash family. We have obviously ex-slaves, and they are working for what is presumably their old master, which is grandma.
Yeah.
Who obviously, I think this was the father's grandmother.
I think so.
Yeah, because he says Uncle Remus told him the stories of Briar Toad and Briar Frog back in the day. So they're obviously living out here. I mean, obviously, without much thought process, you know what the past was.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. They actually like working for her.
Yeah. It's family.
It's a family thing. That's not to say this was the situation at every plantation.
No.
Obviously not. They were. If it was, the Underground Railroad would not have had a reason to exist. Exactly. So obviously there are a bunch, and I would say more often than not, there were probably the people who owned slaves were horrible, horrible people. And before I get any other flack for this, the slavery that existed pre-Civil War here in America, which, fun fact, also existed everywhere else Britain had a colony.
Yes.
Was evil.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it was right for this woman to have owned these people at one time. But I get the feeling that there's no bad blood between any of them.
No.
If there was any kind of anger or hatred between them at some time, there has been forgiveness.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm a Christian. Jacob's a Christian. As Christians, we are told to love our enemies as we love ourselves.
Yes.
And even if they were enemies at one point, obviously there's been some forgiveness for the way things treated. And I would be willing to bet she's probably paying them better than most of the sharecroppers were paid at that time.
Probably.
I'm not saying that this isn't a unfair romanticization of how things were during this time period, because I almost guarantee you it was worse everywhere else. But this is a kid's film made in 1940 that happens to take place during this time. And the only thing I see wrong with this is the fact that they didn't bother to put a year on it. So it's not obvious to everybody that the African Americans on the screen are not slaves.
Yeah.
If they were slaves, that's an issue.
Yeah.
Because that would be over. That would be a problem.
Yes.
But here's the thing. This is after all that. This is during Reconstruction. The fairy tale that it would have been the problem if this was before the Civil War, that's not present here. This is just a bunch of a family of people who happen to be still working for the woman that probably owned them,
or
not 30 years ago, and owned their family members.
Yeah.
Maybe even had bought and sold. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet she just happens to be the last line, and had things gone differently, she probably would have freed these slaves after a time.
Yeah.
If she might have been wanting to free the slaves before, but it didn't make financial sense at the time. And I'm not saying any of that is right or good. I'm saying there was more to it than we tend to give it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying she probably was not guilty of some dark things, especially, and her family probably was guilty of these things too. But at the time this movie takes place, there's forgiveness between all of them. If anything bad happened, it may not be perfect. It may not be clean. It may be even too romanticized for the time period.
Possibly.
But at the same time, this movie is not about what the relations were like between ex-slaves and their old masters.
Yes.
It was not about the Reconstruction period. It was not about any of that. It was about a little boy who needed his father, who his father had run away back to Atlanta instead of taking care of his boy, his mother doing the best she can and making mistakes, probably didn't and honestly, if there's any racism in this film, which I don't really think there is, it might be from her, and only because she doesn't really know what to make of anything on this plantation.
Who knows?
So honestly, I'm going to give her a pass on that. There's no hatred in this film.
No.
It is literally elevating the folk tales of the African American former slaves to the same level we have given for years to Grimm's fairy tales, Hans Christian Andersen's fairy tales, and every other thing every Disney movie has been based on. If anything, this film showed equality in folklore. It introduced kids from this time period to probably stuff they may not have ever heard before. And I'm going to be honest, if it weren't for the fact that I know I saw these shorts, and I'm fairly certain I had a book of a collection of these stories, I would have been without it too. I don't remember how much it helped me as a kid, because honestly, I don't remember. But I'm sorry, there's just no racism in this film. There's some cultural insensitivities. Do not get me wrong. There's some decisions that may not have been made, but it is not any worse than anything else made in the 1940s. And there's things on Disney Plus right this second that are worse.
Agreed.
So, you know what?
Good job.
That rant deserves this.
Rantmaster activated.
This audio clip owned by Nate Marchand of the Monster Island Film Vault. For more information, please go to monsterislandfilmvault.com.
Also, these opinions are mine and mine alone and don't reflect anybody else, so if I got it wrong, I'm sorry. Anyway, my third dislike for this film is that it is unfairly regarded by people who probably never watched it.
True.
That being said, we are moving on to ratings.
Yes.
And now you will probably be very surprised My rating on this is a 6.
Wow.
Because honestly, as a film, as a story, this is okay.
Fair.
It's not something I was like horribly happy to have watched, but I'm so glad I saw it. It is competently made. There's things in there that, of course, shine brighter than others. But for what I was, it's just an okay film.
Okay.
It is no better or worse than half of what all the other stuff in the Disney catalog. Especially the stuff. Honestly, this is on par with, like, say, Mary Poppins. Yeah. And I consider that a mid-tier 6 or 7. We haven't reviewed that, but I'll kind of tell you, I'm thinking that's about a 6 or 7 for me also. Fair. Just because, while I can appreciate it, they're not for me.
Fair.
And that's what this one comes down to. I appreciate what this is. And I may have liked, who knows, I might have liked this as a kid if I'd had a VHS of it. But honestly, at the age I'm at now, it's an okay film.
Okay.
I think it's infamous for the wrong reasons, but it's an okay film.
Agreed. I'm giving it a 7.5. I enjoy the mess out of this. It's a really, I think, honestly, it's a good film. There again, be like, the movie made a lot of money in its run times. The main actor got an Academy Award for the film. Well, correction, both of them did at one point. I think for this film or another film. Like, two of the big leads in this movie got Oscar nominations or they won awards for this film, their performances. And due to America's sensitivity to everything, and there again, I can understand where some people are, offended by this. I can see that.
I don't know if it's right to be offended by what they're offended by, but you can't really change what people are offended by.
Yeah, exactly. All you can do is express your opinion about something and defend your opinion.
And all I am asking anyone to do is watch the film before you decide if you're offended by it.
Yeah, exactly. Watch it.
That's all I want.
Yeah, because I enjoy, like, James Baskett's performance is tremendous. This was an amazing performance. Because there again, I never saw anything of his. I may have. I don't know.
I looked through his filmography when I was making up the cast list. This was the only thing I recognized other than he was Mr. Bojangles back in the day.
Okay.
And I know that was a major name on the circuit for a while. So on the same type of circuit that the Three Stooges were on before their films.
Fair. Overall, be like, I enjoyed this film. James Baskett performance, amazing. The animation for its time is done very well. You have all these little bits here and there. It's not a perfect film. Not a perfect film at all. I wish Disney would get off their sorry butts and just release it and let people see the film for what it is, have a conversation about it. Because there again, if you don't learn from the past, you are doomed to repeat it.
Yeah.
And that's something our country, in some slight of fashion or form, is headed towards. So
in some ways, they're doing it now.
Yeah, they're doing it now. So again, learn from history, watch things that might be uncomfortable, learn from those mistakes, or learn that there were some really, really good things in the past. And be like, because there again, we could wind up at some point, another Adolf Hitler showing up and no one else can do anything. Be like,
not everything that looks racist actually is.
Yeah, agreed. But there again, be like, go watch the film, go find a way to go watch this film, or start a petition to, get Disney to, release this thing. There again, in fact, we're coming up on this 100th year with the copyright. So Disney's got to do something with it. Otherwise they lose it.
Over on songofthesouth.net, there is actually a petition out there that you can sign to get Disney to release this movie on Disney+.
Really? Okay.
They have 8,000 people who've signed the thing.
Yeah. So
it's not a lot, but I mean, it's there.
Yeah. So there again, if you've never seen the film, and if all you've heard is the negative viewpoints that it's racist and this and this and this, be like, don't go. Be like, if you want to get your own opinion on something, go watch it. That's what we push all the time on this show. Go find it wherever you're going to go find it. Watch it, make your own opinion, and have a conversation with people about it. because you might be surprised, because there again, how polarizing our world is now, definitely with politics and social things are now. Because there again, as a Christian, you are called to love one another. You're called to love your neighbor, those who are your enemy, those who persecute you, to take care of the alien who comes into your land, the people who are not from your land, and to care for people, to love those who are hated. And it's just like, that's what this world needs. We need Jesus. We cannot do this on our own. And to say this, like, oh, all we need is science and our knowledge and everything, I disagree with you, because what we need is Christ. We need Christ, his redemption, his grace, his love, because if we don't have it, we're doomed. So that's my opinion. If you don't like it, sorry, I can't help you.
Yeah. And on that note,
Yes.
we're gonna go zippity doodah over into our intermission afterwards.
Yes.
We will be talking about what we've been watching, some news, and the end, but not end of Evangelion.
Yes.
This podcast is a proud member of Culture Box. Whether you enjoy geeky reviews, comedy, or original fiction, you can open up the Culture Box and find something excellent for your soul. Point your web browser to culturebox.media.
This week, we suggest checking out Stunning and Brave. I feel horrible for this, but I couldn't pass this up. Each week, hosts Chris Cowan and Nate Anderson confess their privilege, spotlight stunning social media posts, and fabricate outrage, all while keeping you super woke and enlightened. They will make you laugh. That's right. You have no choice. You can check out Stunning and Brave at stunningandbrave.net. The Cellcast would also like to thank the following patrons: Ashley and Francisco Ruiz, Book of Gaming, PaulJPowers.com, Edwin Gonzalez, and the Monster Island Film Vault. Woo! For more, if you want your name shouted out on the show, uncut episodes of the show, special art from Jacob, and timed exclusive reviews starting next week of X-Men 97. You can donate $5 to us on Patreon. Also, if you would like to force us to review a film within reason, you can donate to us at the $10 level. As of this recording, we still have 2 spots left on the docket. Please, 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 please give us episodes to review, or we might have to come up with something and then blame y'all for not filling those episodes for us. So join us for that. So, Jacob, I have a question for you.
What have you been watching?
What have I been watching?
Especially since you've been off for most of this week with your fiance.
Yes. Let's see. I've continued to watch a little more NCIS. Season 2, really good on Netflix. Go watch it. If you never watched it, it's not just for old people. People, come on. Just saying. So I had a very interesting experience. So Ashley has never seen any of the Indiana Jones films.
Right.
So we had an opportunity.
So you watched all 3?
No, we watched the first one. Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Okay.
So we watched that.
Someone didn't catch that I only said 3.
There's 5 films.
No, there's not. There's only 3. And a TV show that should not have been made.
Okay.
I have opinions.
You think, Sherlock?
Some of these might be mirrored from Retro Rewind podcast.
Maybe. But so
it's not my fault that Kate Blanchett, one of my favorite actresses, was in an Indiana Jones fan film back that Steven Spielberg happened to direct back in the mid 2000s. That for some reason also has Shia LaBeouf in it, and he still goes, no.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So there again, people who know me, As a reviewer, I've been doing this for 5 years, and I've always done commentary, watching films. Always had. People find it really annoying when I do that, but
I've had interesting discussions when we've watched films together.
Yeah, you're not kidding. I've done it with my younger brothers. We always have conversations during films, and I did like me and Ashley watched the movie one time, and I'm sitting there just giving running commentary the entire time. So what I did, I actually shut up. I barely said a word the entire film, and she be like, to her credit, she really enjoyed the movie, and for me, as someone
Raiders is one of the best ones.
Oh yeah, agreed. And for me, watching
one of the best ones.
for myself, watching the film, watching someone else watch the film, and just watching the film for itself, not sitting there and having a conversation about what went on behind the scenes or what have you.
Like it would have been if we were watching it.
Yeah, exactly. It had just been two guys just buffering back and forth about a film. But it was such a unique experience. That I find myself even more intrigued with the film because of watching how directorial, direction, acting, props, including the boulder that bounces in that one scene. If you know what I'm talking about, it goes bounce. It literally bounces.
I have to read this from Bobo.
Okay.
I don't know if you can read that on the stream, but when it comes to Indiana Jones films, thou shalt count to 3, no more, no less. 3 shall be the number that thou count, and the number of the counting shalt be 3. 4 shalt thou not count, nor either thou count thou 2, excepting that thou then proceed to 3. 5 is right out. Once the number 3 being reached, being the third number be reached, then thou shalt discuss the Indiana Jones films.
So I have a question for you, Bobo. That was very well done. That was very well. Bravo. Props.
Roy will love that.
Huh?
Roy will love that.
Oh, Roy will definitely love that. So I have a question for you, Bobo. So be like, you've seen the fourth one, or as this guy over here calls it, the fan film.
The fan film and the sequel to the fan film.
The sequel to the fan film. Have you seen 5? I haven't seen 5.
I have seen the sequel to the fan film.
Right?
It is better than the fan film.
Okay. So why?
But it is nowhere near the quality of the original trilogy.
Wait, what? I've seen none of them. What? Okay. You haven't seen any of the Indiana Jones films.
That does happen sometimes.
I know, but then you're... Yeah, exactly.
Bobo, you need to watch those films.
Yes, I agree. They're on Disney Plus. Go watch it. Go watch it now. They're good.
Especially the original trilogy. You can watch the other two if you want.
Yeah.
They're not for me.
Yeah, but fair.
The original trilogy is spectacular.
Yes, agreed.
Steven Spielberg and George Lucas.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yes, this is... It gets worse, and...
You've watched the show, haven't you? But you've not watched the movies.
Young Indiana Jones?
I hate Young Indiana Jones. Either way, continue with what you've been watching.
Oh, okay. So watch that. Be like, it gave me a much greater perspective of the film. Just like the directorial, the camera work, everything in this film is done beautifully. Oh my gosh. And how Indiana Jones by Harrison Ford is done just so well, so immaculate as a character. And like the villains, they're Nazis. Of course they're going to be evil. And it's just so good. Definitely when you're watching the final scene in this movie with your fiance who's never seen an Indiana Jones film. It's like, watch that entire scene. It's like, oh my gosh, this is good. She's like, whoa, okay. I didn't expect that. But oh my gosh, that movie is so well done. So well done. I love it. I might have to go get it on Blu-ray because it's just that good. It's that good of a film. So yes, watch that with my fiance. Really good. And I've continued to listen to the podcast through the Griffin Door from the Super Carlin Brothers. If you don't know who those are, go check them out on YouTube. They're really good. They're, I think, on episode or chapter 14 of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. And yeah, they're really good. They're very knowledgeable at Harry Potter. That's where their whole stick is Harry Potter. Mm-hmm. But Yeah, I really, 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 really enjoy their commentary and what they think of everything. I may disagree with them, like we all do. We disagree with each other. Doesn't mean we have to, hate each other. But come on, world, just get with the program. Well, I know it's going to happen, but still, there's wishful thinking here. But so that is all I've been watching and listening to.
So I have watched, of course, some more Dragon Ball. I am near the end of the first arc.
Really?
Yeah. This was the shorter of one. This is one of the shortest arcs in the series, though. It's only like 13, maybe 14 episodes total. And I am near, like I said, I'm near the end. Here's the interesting thing. Since the last time I consumed Dragon Ball, original Dragon Ball media, especially this era, I have since read Journey to the West.
Okay.
The ancient Chinese folk fairy tale that this is basically based on, or it's a modern retelling of, at least this first arc is. And what's really interesting is I'm watching this and going, wow, I actually know what stories they are pulling this stuff from. Especially when I realize, Oolong, the pig. He's actually, like, his character is based on Pigsy from the book, which travels with Monkey, but his introduction is like an entirely different story with a different character that was stealing girls. And I'm so looking at it going, Oolong, you really did not think any of this through, because you already are not happy with the girls you've got stashed away in your palace, and you're wanting more?
Wow.
Because even though they're already bleeding you dry of money?
He's a real pig.
He is a real pig. Well, have you seen his design from this era?
Yes.
He's a communist.
Yeah.
He's a communist pig. He's cannot tell me that was
a red pig.
Red pig. But yeah. So yeah, I'm almost done with the first arc. I'm to the point where Goku's and the team are just now actually getting into Pilaf's territory to get that last Dragon Ball. I'm enjoying the show. It's been a long time since I've watched it, and it's interesting watching it now because you can I think I've said this before. You can kind of tell which parts that they censored, which parts were in the original cut and they had to censor stuff versus what stuff wasn't. Because, well, the whole thing on Fry Pan Mountain, if you know the story about what Master Roshi wanted for his services.
Oh, okay. Understanding what the original Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, Roshi's perverted beyond belief.
Yes, and in the version of the English version on that Funimation made, all he wants is a walk.
A walk.
Like that's
a walk?
Like a walk, like a midnight stroll.
Oh, okay.
And because I don't want to get too far into this because family friendly podcast.
Yes.
But they don't do a good job of really changing what's actually happening in the scene, even though they're only talking about a walk, because I'm sorry, the hearing her heartbeat is not the same thing as what she was actually doing, which, if you know, let's just say there is the other thing that Akira Toriyama is involved with, Dragon Quest, has a tradition that may have originated here, that they always have certain characters who give certain services. If you talk to the right person, then they call it a specific thing.
Oh, okay.
But it's not, it's dirty, but it's not dirty.
Oh,
best way I know how to put that.
Okay.
And it's actually an attack too, which is weird. But anyway, not getting off into that.
Right.
Bear in mind, Japanese kids television show from the 80s. They had different standards then. and Funimation did what they could to make it fit on American television, and I suspect there were a lot more cut from that scene in that original broadcast in that broadcast version Funimation made than what's on this DVD, or not the DVD, but on the streaming, because I know it's from the DVD. Anyway, so I watched that. Over at Chase's, we watched a certain television show about a certain gentleman thief whom we have reviewed 2 movies from the franchise.
Wolf, right?
Yes, Lupin the Third.
Yes,
Part 5.
Lupin the Third.
Yeah, we watched some of Lupin the Third Part 5, the 5th series. Granted, these are all episodic, so you don't have to have watched the other parts. But yeah, it was actually very good. I'm sounding surprised, but because I mean we enjoyed the 2 movies we've watched. But yeah, that was very good. It was very fun. I think we both laughed out loud when at the end of episode 5 it said end episode 1. It's like, it took 5 episodes to get through 1 episode. There's some wibbly wobbly timey wimey for you. But yeah, that we watched that, enjoyed that. And of course, I've been playing some Final Fantasy VII Rebirth on the stream. For those of you joining me in the morning, you may notice I may have done some stuff off stream. But it's my game. I get to play it.
Yeah.
I save story for y'all. So there is that. And other than that, I've been playing a little bit of... I've gone back to Yakuza Kiwami 2. Strange how, despite the fact I probably not played that game in 6 months, I picked right back up where I left off and understood, oh yeah, this is where the story is going. Even though it's like full of intrigue and cops versus robbers, except there's villains and heroes on both sides, because of course it is. But yeah, it's that I'm enjoying playing that game. Other than that, I think that about does it for me.
Okay.
So what do we have in the news?
The Cellcast News with your host Jacob Heron.
Why, thank you. And thankfully that transmogrifier is still down, because probably I've been turned into a rabbit by this point.
No, you would probably be turned into a carrot, not a rabbit, considering one of the episodes I just watched. Really, D-Let's? At least you're not going to end up on the moon.
Yeah. I don't need to be fighting by moonlight. Thank you very much.
Speaking of, since we're in the news section, you bring up Sailor Moon unintentionally.
Yes.
The manga author of Sailor Moon had her birthday today.
Really?
Yeah. Since you don't ask a woman her age, I didn't bother to look it up.
Good.
Just throwing that out there.
I gotcha. All right. So, speaking of classic Japanese animated movies. Anime. There we go. Anime. Whatever one pronounce it.
Not anime. This isn't Frozen May.
Keep it together, brother. Keep it together.
There's a callback to our first episode.
You're not kidding. Good callback. All right. So celebrating the Academy Award win for Best Animated Feature for Hayao Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli's latest feature, The Boy and the Heron.
Once again, the life story of our co-host.
Hey! Apparently, I'm not a grumpy heron. Come on.
The boy who is a heron.
Who barks like a dog?
Well, what are you going to do? It's his creative stuff. I don't know. Continue.
All right. So, Heron and the Boy, G-Kids North American distributed for the Studio Ghibli Library of Films, is bringing the critically acclaimed and award-winning feature back to theaters nationwide starting on March 22nd. So if you want to go watch G-Kids, or go watch G-Kids, it's always on. Go watch The Boy and the Heron in theaters, you'll have an opportunity coming up this month.
Like next week.
Next week. So, yeah. It's Academy acclaimed, so go watch it.
Yeah.
And maybe at some point we'll finally get this thing on Blu-ray. At some point.
It will come.
It will come.
Along with another movie that's Japanese made that won an Academy Award.
Yes. Roar!
Yeah, Godzilla -1, which, yeah, I'm calling this news. Partially animated. It's a hybrid film. I don't care. It won the Academy Award for Best Special Effects.
Yes, it did.
It should have gotten Best Foreign Film, but they didn't even nominate it for that. But yeah, what am I kidding? This is the first Academy Award win that Godzilla's had in 70 years.
70 years?
Since its creation.
Oh, okay. Good lizard.
This is why it will be on the show one day, whether you care about it or not.
Oh, okay.
It's a good film.
I am not surprised. I keep hearing glowing, raving reviews over Godzilla -1. I guarantee when it comes out, it gets stuck in a block. It'll get stuck there, and then Nate's going to come on. And
of course Nate's going to be here.
And then
assuming his schedule works.
Yeah.
Depends on what part of the Monster Island World Tour he's on right now, where it's got him stuck.
Oh, I guarantee he'll hop a flight and come over. It's like, oh, I'll be there in 3 minutes. Probably. Anyways, from gushing about movies that got Academy Awards that were just needed, the latest DreamWorks animated feature franchise sequel, Kung Fu Panda 4, is enjoying a warm welcome back from audiences at home and abroad. Following its launch on Friday, March 8th, the film, directed by Michael Mitchell and co-director by, I might butcher her name, so apologies, Stephanie Mee Sting, has tote in $81.7 million in the 3-day box office here in the North America and select markets around the world. Domestically, MFPK reigns number one at the box office through the weekend, earning $58 million in 4,035,000 theaters for releasing Studio Universal, beating early tracking estimates $50 million. Dune Part 2, which was released by Legendary. I always get that wrong. Legendary and Warner Bros. Came in at number 2 at $14.4 million. So the panda is doing well for himself on a fourth movie. All right, so going into a movie that we recently reviewed is going back to theaters.
Why would Mario Brothers be going back to theaters?
I have no idea. Well, it does give us a reason. In honor of hashtag Martin Day, or as
Mario Day. You're referring to the sequel.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I meant to say.
You made it sound like they're reshowing the first movie in theaters again?
Well, they did back in 2023. I put those two events in the same category, and it's like, no. I guarantee
myself, sorry.
I guarantee probably Super Mario Bros. At some place in some town here in America or abroad is still playing in theaters.
Either way, we're getting the sequel to Mario.
Yes. Illumination and Nintendo today announced that they are producing a new animated film based on the world of Super Mario Bros. Following the smash success of the 2023 top performing animated feature, the Super Mario Bros. Movie brought in worldwide $1.336 billion, as well as the highest grossing video game adaptation and Illumination's biggest release yet. The new announcement, Return to the World of Super Mario Bros. Is slated to be released on August 3rd, 2016 here in the United States and many additional markets globally, with select territories releasing throughout that month. So that is all I have for info and stuff.
You mean the news?
The news. That's what I meant to say.
Well, since she's... I'm not going to make that joke. That's horrible. Why don't we just go ahead and...
Finish
our emotional damage, because we do technically still have one more week of emotional damage coming.
Well, the TAS version of emotional damage.
Yes.
Card Captors, a mystic adventure. Card Captors, a quest for all time.
She is the one named Sailor Moon.
Pokemon, gotta catch 'em. It's you and me. I know it's my destiny. Pokemon.
It's time to duel!
Digimon, digital monsters, Digimon Darling champions. Yayo, yayo, yayo. Ho, ho, set sail for One Piece.
Yo, Shinji, get in the robot! Your dad loves you, get in the robot! The cockpit's too small for a grown-up. Kick some butt in your robot! Emotional damage!
That's, of course, Stephen He saying emotional damage, and the Lost 4 Kids opening is a video by Eagle 8 Burger. Go search it. The whole thing is funny. And you'll understand why the whole thing is not in this intro. No. First episode of the evening, episode 25. For those of, since I haven't been keeping up with episode numbers, but I know this one. The Ending World, or Do You Love Me? Mm-hmm. Directed by Kazuya Tsurumaki and written by Hideaki Anno.
Oh, surprise, surprise to nobody.
And boy, do we Hideaki Anno in this episode.
Just a little bit.
The next two episodes, actually. These last two episodes. Getting into the summary for this, because there is no new cast. Shinji, pained by his choice to kill his friend, Jacob's favorite character, shuts himself off from the world and the people in his life and reflects upon his true purpose in life, on what his true purpose in life is.
Are we sure?
Also, instrumentality begins as Shinji wishes for a world of complete solitude and seclusion. That happened in this episode?
Yes.
I just thought it was the first half of the most depressing philosophy argument I'd ever heard.
No. It happens.
With the PowerPoint presentation.
Yes, with a PowerPoint presentation. Somewhat of a PowerPoint presentation.
That.
We'll get there when we get there.
Getting into the trivia. There is no angel that appears in this film.
No.
Episode.
Because they're all dead.
Dead. Dead. All the angels are dead. They're dead. There are several glimpses of reality the audience is shown in this episode, including Asuka at the bottom of a lake, Ritsuko's body floating in a pool of LCL, and Masato having been shot. All of these scenes are apparently also shown in the end of Evangelion.
Yes.
Many scenes from the series are also recycled with different dialogue. No kidding!
You think?
This was like one of the cheapest episodes of this show, I'm convinced.
It is. It's a clip show.
And Fly Me to the Moon, and this one was called Ray number 25.
Yes.
In fact, here's a spoiler for next episode. It's just called Ray number 26. And they're the same song. I don't care if they called it different things. They're the same song. So that's what I've got for trivia.
Oh my gosh.
So, like I said, this is like these two episodes are really, it's really a two-parter.
It is. I agree.
And this is these whole two episodes are basically being told in the same vein from the earlier episodes when the angels were talking to the different pilots that we saw. And honestly, I watched this after seeing Kaoru get murdered.
Yeah.
By Shinji.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, that is what happened. And here's the thing. I'm confused.
You're confused
by what happened in these two episodes. I'm sitting here watching going, I'm actually expecting the continuation of the story after what just happened. And it feels like I walked in on some high schooler's philosophy presentation.
Okay.
And that's kind of how I feel about both of these, especially when we get to the second one.
Yeah.
But in this one, admittedly, this episode, it feels like it's trying to ask the question, while the next episode is trying to answer it.
It is.
And this is supposed to be, I guess, explaining the philosophy behind everything that's going on in the show and what the show is trying to explain to present about how all these people are. And I was following it for the most part, but I'm sitting here going like, when the the commercial break spot played, I think I thought to myself, wow, if this is how both these episodes are, I know exactly why people didn't like this, didn't like how Evangelion ended, and why they demanded it be redone. Because this is disappointing
with it.
Well, we'll get there.
We'll get there when we get there.
But what I'm watching here, I am just basing this based on what I've seen, not on future knowledge or anything else. I'm sitting here going, wow, everything you've built up to this point, you just shut out an airlock and are now just doing this thing. You're explaining everything you just showed us in that we saw in narrative form, and this is kind of doing it, but I'm like, dude, if I was watching this week to week and I waited a whole week after Kaoru got murdered to this episode, and this is what it gave me, and then the next episode when it gives similar, I'd be pissed. It's like, this is not because, and it's not, I understand what we're doing here. We're explaining what's going on through Shinji's mind and letting Shinji come to come to peace with himself.
Yeah.
And granted, after he murdered somebody, he needs that. I get that.
Yeah.
Because it's really not his fault. Because I keep saying murdered, but the guy wanted to die and wanted Shinji to do it.
Yeah.
And Shinji kind of had to. So I get what's going on. And I know that these two episodes are really just Shinji's therapy session. In a way, is internal therapy session. But I'm watching this expecting like cuts to outside of Shinji's body and actually seeing like the continuation of the story,
which it doesn't
do.
Nope.
And I'm like,
it literally takes it hits the air brakes and does this.
Right. And it's, I'm not saying one is better than the other.
Fair.
Mostly because I've not watched the other one to make a decision. Because I understand the end of Evangelion actually shows what actually happened after Kaoru got killed. But, yeah. But I'm still sitting here watching this going, why am I sitting through high schooler's philosophy? Not high school philosophy. This is not philosophy as it's taught to high schools. I'm talking about the philosophy that a high schooler would come up with to explain why they're so edgy. And that's kind of what this feels like. It's like, this is some edgelord's philosophy on why he is the way he is. Like, you expect the guy who's actually like Shinji to be walking around in like a trench coat looking like Squall from Final Fantasy VIII. Boy, I do not draw that.
Oh, we got something better.
But yeah, explain what's going on here, because I say I'm confused, and it's because I am.
Fair.
Because I don't know why we went this way. I'm with 2 episodes to go, other than they must have run out of money.
That is the running theory with it, that I think there's some people who believe that Ano literally just he blows through his entire budget, so at the very end it's always very cheaply done. So I think with this episode, these 2 episodes primarily, it's trying to draw out answers from our characters. It's like you said, it's an interrogation of these characters and why they do the things they do, and have all the characters kind of bring the questions to like Shinji or Asuka or Rei or Masato or anybody else who is in the interrogation room. Because why do you pilot? Why did you have to do this? Why did you have to do this? So it's a character, it's breaking down the character of why they do things. And the interaction you have with where Asuka is berating Shinji of why you do this. And I kind of agree with a video I posted from Retro Blasting, which is is a YouTube channel. And he was breaking down Evangelion as a series and a movie and supplemental material. I disagree with him in some cases where Shinji is kind of a narcissist in a way. Because Asuka does bring that up. He is very narcissistic. He is about himself. But he is not about himself the entire time. Like, this is a young man who is still kind of going through things. His father is definitely a narcissist. Completely.
Oh, yeah.
But you have Shinji who has narcissistic tendencies. He does think about himself a lot, and he wants people to praise him. And but then you look at Asuka, it's very similar. Asuka is a character just like Shinji, is very broken, lost a parent, and has, tries to receive praise from being a pilot, and they find their satisfaction in being a pilot. And so in this interrogation portion of this episode is you have Rey is trying to discover who she is and why she does these things, and her other selves come into the play, come into the performance to kind of question her about herself, or even our characters, their younger versions of themselves come in and ask them questions, which I thought was very fascinating. Because there again, it's breaking down the character psyches. Definitely when you get Masato was so fascinating. It was like, oh, this is the reason why you do this. And we knew this going in through the series, but it kind of brings it home. It's just like, oh, because you found, like, you wanted, like, a part of your father, like a reincarnation of your father. It's like, no, that's what I wanted. I don't want Shinji to see this part of me. I'd be like, I feel nasty, I feel dirty. And it's just like these characters who are so, it breaks the characters down to their, like, the microscopic of who they are. And I find that really fascinating. Now, some people, it's just like, I wanted to see more fighting. I wanted to see this fantasy built out and more. I don't want to see this psychological mumbo jumbo. I want to see what I want to see. I want to see my fantasy. That's what a lot of people thought.
I mean, I understand why you would, because any other show would finish the story.
I agree.
I'm not saying the
turn.
I'm not saying the psychological aspect is wrong. It's just, I'm saying there are better ways to do it and still continue the story instead of just stopping 2 episodes before the end and starting a PowerPoint presentation.
Fair. But I like what I'm going to butcher his name.
Hideaki Anno?
Hideaki Anno does with this, because he does something unexpected, and it's primarily Shinji, and we're trying to figure out why he does all these things, why he does this, and why he does this, because you break it down to he doesn't like himself, he hates himself, and he doesn't feel like no one loves him. But in truth, there's characters who do care about him.
Well, to play into the instrumentality aspect that these things are pointing out, especially later when it I think it's actually in the next episode where it talks about finding yourself in others.
Yes.
I think what he is seeing is the parts of himself that are in Gendo, and he hates Gendo for good reason.
Yeah, for good reason.
And that's probably why he hates himself, because he probably understands in a weird way
he does.
why Gendo did what he did.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if he does not especially the more he gets involved with the angels and the Avas and everything.
Yeah, exactly. So I love the idea that the deep psychological tunnel we go through with these characters. Be like, because there again, we've gone through this through the entire show, but I'd be like, and I understand why Anno did this, because you're trying to break down your characters. You're trying to definitely at the end of the series.
I get that.
We'll get there. But
I get that. It's just there's better ways to do this.
I agree. And I can understand to a small fraction why some fans were so outraged.
Okay, well, yeah, think about it. I mean, you've been watching this action-packed, deep storytelling of that's like it's done very well. I will even say it's done very well up to this point. And we take this sharp 90-degree turn off into psychology 101.
Yes.
Except it's not really psychology 101, because real psychology classes, psychology college classes teach better psychology than this.
Yeah,
'Cause I don't really like the psychology they're showing. And granted, this
No,
is
I
not
don't either.
meant to be an ideal you're heading towards. This is just meant to be, here's what these characters are.
Yeah.
And it's trying to sell, or eventually it will be trying to sell instrumentality. But bear in mind, let me get to, well, I'll get into it in the next one.
Okay.
But yeah, I get why you're saying you like how it's going into the psychological thing. I'm just saying you could still, and granted, you have 2 episodes to finish this up, and it really does feel like, where would you go after you killed the final angel? I don't know what that story would have looked like had he been able to do it on the TV show budget. And I've not watched the movie yet. I don't even know if the final 2 episodes of this is even time enough to actually end the show.
Probably not.
The proper way.
Yeah.
And this may have been all he could do with what budget he had.
Yeah.
I'm not even saying it was the wrong move. I'm saying it's the most disappointing move that could have been made.
Fair. That is fair enough. So yeah, I love, like you said it best, where this first episode seems like more it's interrogation. It's asking the questions.
It's asking the philosophical questions.
It's asking the philosophical questions. And then in the next episode, it's answering a lot of them, or trying to answer them.
Right.
And we'll get there when we get there in that episode.
Do you want to go ahead and jump into those
let's just
answers?
jump into the second episode.
All right, and then
The
we can
last
just talk
episode.
about everything.
Yeah.
Except I am going to hold, just so y'all know, I am going to hold my final thoughts on the series until after we review the movie next week.
Yeah, I'll do that as well.
So this is just going to be our thoughts on this. Episode 26, final episode of the series. The Beast That Shouted I at the Heart of the World, aka Take Care of Yourself. Directed by Kazuya Tsurumaki Masayuki and written by Hideaki Anno. And as always, as is the TAS tradition, it's the final episode. Everyone gets called out, gets named. Bear with me. This is 3 different casts I'm about to read. Shinji Ikari in the Japanese version was played by Megumi Ogata. Spike Spencer in the ADV, and Casey Mongillo in the Netflix, with Christina Valenzuela playing young Shinji in episode 26. Her only episode. Rei Ayanami was played by Megumi Hayashibara in the Japanese, Amanda Wynn Lee in the ADV dub, and Ryan Bartley in the Netflix dub. Asuka Langley Soryu was played by Yuko Miyamura in the Japanese, Tiffany Grant in the ADV dub, and Stephanie McKeon in the Netflix. Misato Katsuragi was played by Katono Mitsushi in the Japanese, Allison Keith in the ADV, and Carrie Karenin in the Netflix. Gendo Ikari was played by Fumihiko Tachiki in the Japanese, Tristan McAvery in the ADV original dub, and John Swasey in the ADV director's cut dub, and Ray Chase in the Netflix dub. Kozo Fuyutsuki was played by Motomo Kiyokawa in the Japanese, Gil Lund in the ADV, and JP Karliak in the Netflix. Ritsuko Akagi was played by Yuriko Yamaguchi in the Japanese, Su Ulu in the ADV, and Erica Lindbeck in the Netflix. Ryoji Kaji was played by Koichi Yamadera in the Japanese, Aaron Crone in the ADV, and Greg Chun in the Netflix. That finishes our primary characters. Now moving on to secondary characters. Toji Suzahara was played by Tomokazu Seki in the Japanese, Joe Pisano in episodes 3 to 18, Michael O'Connor in episodes 19 through 20, and Brett Weaver in episode 26 in the ADV original dub, and was played completely by Brett Weaver in the ADV director's cut, and Johnny Young Bosch in the Netflix dub. Kaoru Nagisa, your favorite character, was played by Akira Ishida in the Japanese, Kyle Studevant in the ADV original dub, Greg Ayers in the ADV director's cut dub, and Clifford Chapin in the Netflix dub. Makoto Hyuga was played by Hiroyuki in the Japanese, Matt Greenfield in the ADV, and Daniel M.K. Cohen in the Netflix. Shigeru Aoba was played by Takahiko Koyashi in the Japanese, Jason C. Lee in the ADV original dub, Vic Mignogna in the ADV director's cut dub, and Billy Kametz in the Netflix. Maya Ibuki was played by Miki Nagasawa in the Japanese dub, Kendra Benham in the ADV original dub, Monica Rial in the ADV director's cut dub, and Christine Marie Cabanos in the Netflix dub. Naoko Akagi was played by Mika Doi in the Japanese, Laura Chapman in the ADV, and Magdalena Helmig in the Netflix. Yui Akari was played by Megumi Hayashibara in the Japanese, Kim Sevier in the ADV, and Ryan Bartley in the Netflix. And I do want to point out that if that's, with the exception of one name, that sounds a lot like Rei Ayanami, there's a good reason for that. ADV is the only one that had a different actress.
Really?
For Rei. For Yui than for Rei.
Really? That makes sense.
Which is interesting. I guess they didn't know when they made the casting choice. Anyway. Yeah. Kinsuke Ida played Tetsuya Iwanaga in the Japanese. Kurt Stoll in the ADV, and Benjamin Diskin in the Netflix. Hiraki Horaki was played by Junko Iwa. Junko Iwa, whatever. In the Junko Japanese dub, Carol Emerson in the ADV, and Abby Trott in the Netflix. Keel Lorenz was played by Mugito in the Japanese, Rick Peoples in the ADV, and DC Douglas in the Japanese. Pen was played by Megumi Hayashibara in the Japanese, Amanda Wynn Lee in the ADV original dub, Mandy Clark in the ADV director's cut dub, and Sharmi Lee in the Netflix. Getting into other characters, in the Japanese, Kyoko Zeppelin Soryu was played by Maria Kawamura in the Japanese, Yvonne Aguirre in the ADV, and I do not have anyone listed specifically for her in the Netflix. Additional voices. I have no listing for the Japanese additional voices. You are welcome. However, ADV original, or ADV, we have, ADV original, you got Yvonne Agari in both. George A. Areola in the... I'll just read all of these. Sorry. I'm trying to figure this out because it's like a ton of people. Yvonne... I may read some names twice. Forgive me. Yvonne Aguirre in George A. Areola, Brian Bounds, Rob Bundy, Jessica Cavello, Charles Campbell, Laura Chapman, Melinda Decay, Angel Fisher, Hiroko Fukumori, Matt Greenfield, Tiffany Harris, Kevin Hennett, Michael House, Gen Kato, Scott Kilgore, Paul Killam, Larry Koteff, Stuart Crone, Amanda Winley, Jason C. Lee, Tracy Leftridge, Gul Lund, Doug Medford, Brenda Mikasa, Ben Nunez, Craig O'Connor, Andy Ojura, Leighton Payne, Robert Peoples, Rob Peters, Lorraine Reeves, Dan Rockwell, Julio Rodriguez, Aaron Rosaire, Phil Ross, Jennifer Rutherford, Kim Sevier, Doug Smith, Spike Spencer, David Spray, John Swayze, Lou Temple, Holly Vitam, Brett Weaver, David Williams, Janice Williams, Jessica Williams, scroll back up, Yvonne Aguirre, Christine Otten, Brian Bounds, Shalene Black, Charles Campbell, Victor Cassad, Mandy Clark, Melissa Seibel, Melinda Decay, Jason Douglas, Lauren Goodnight, John Gremlin, Mike Kleinhines, Kelly Madison, George Manley, Andy McAvan, Chris Patton, Lorraine Reyes, Aaron Rosaire, Phil Ross, Randy Sparks, Lou Temple, John Tyson, and Brett Weaver in the ADV dubs. I didn't try to split those. And I probably read names twice. In the Netflix, we have Zach Aguilar, Julie Bersani, Henry Dittman, Lucine Dodge, Doug Erholtz, Robbie Friedman, Chris Hackney, Edward Hong, Billy Kametz, Alan Lee, Xander Mobius, Paul St. Peter, Doug Stone, and Kirk Thornton. That's a lot of names.
It's a lot of words.
And it's a lot of people who worked on this show. Getting into the summary for this episode. This takes place in Shinji's mind, no kidding, where he tries to find ways to feel better about himself and other people while thinking about a solution to his many problems. Okay. Angel appearances, none. This episode's title is derived from the Japanese title for the short story The Beast That Shouted Love at the Heart of the World by Harlan Ellison. So it's actually named after a science fiction novel.
Really?
Or short story, sorry.
Yes.
As a bookend with episode 1's opening caption of "In the year 2015 AD," this episode opens with the caption "In the year 2016 AD." The far distant future. The alternate reality presented here was the inspiration for Girlfriend of Steel 2 and its accompanying manga, though Ritsuko and Kaoru were added to the cast and more traditional Evangelions were later introduced. When the line near the end is spoken, "But I might be able to love myself," it is said simultaneously by Shinji, Asuka, and Rei according to the after recording script. Amidst the many words of congratulations, a faint smile starts at the corners of Shinji's mouth and spreads across his face. A happy face. That is the figure of the complimented Shinji. This conclusion is also one possibly among many. This comes from Filmbook Volume 9. I don't know what any of that actually means. Okay. And of course, Fly Me to the Moon, and this one is Ray 26. And here's the thing, that alternate reality they show, I was sitting there watching. That scene starts, okay? We've had all this other philosophy stuff going for it, and I'm mostly following, but though as we were getting close, at this point, I was starting to glaze over. I'll admit, and all of a sudden, boom! It's like we just started a regular cartoon, a regular anime. Shinji's got to get to school, and Gendo's not a jerk, and Yui is around, and Rei has a personality. And I'm going, wait, was all this in Shinji's mind? And this is like the people he pulled in for this, the people who personified all this. And this was all him trying to learn to fix some trauma that he had gone through, that maybe this is. It had to happen in one night because it's obviously he didn't wake up from a coma. He just woke up from being asleep like a regular night. This all happened. Really, honestly, I was just as I was getting all this rationalization thinking, this is a really cool idea, Hideaki Anno. This is granted, I've seen it before, but this was being done really well. I was like, okay, cool. And then this is but one alternate future. I go, dang it! You were doing something cool, Anno. Why just screw it up? Nope, that's not what's going on. I don't even know what's going on in that scene now because it honestly could have been left out and nothing would have changed. You were doing something cool. And you threw it away at the last minute, all just so Shinji could come to the realization that he deserves to be loved just like anybody else. The black breaks into a million pieces, and everyone around him is just going, congratulations, congratulations, congratulations. I'm thinking, what does this have to do with giant robots or cyborgs fighting space aliens that we call angels?
Because it doesn't.
It doesn't have anything. This ends dumb. I'm sorry. I know there are people who do actually like this ending. Our good friend Nate Marchand of the Monster Island Film Vault has stated he prefers the ending of the show to the movie. And I'm watching this and going, I think you've been writing too long. No, that's mean. I don't mean it that way that came out. I'm watching this and going, this is, I kind of get what's going on. This is a very 2001 A Space Odyssey type of ending. And I'm still going, I didn't like the ending of 2001 either because I don't know what's going on. You have gone so far out of left field that even though this is definitely an artistic ending, I feel like I have been sold the Emperor's New Clothes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you're selling me this big artistic ending, and granted, I'm having a feeling. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about this other than I understand why people were upset.
Okay. Totally.
I do understand. I don't know why. Granted, you're with a piece of art. As an artist, I understand this. You want people to accept it, flaws and all, even if maybe, and you kind of you understand your rationalization for what you're doing far better than anybody else looking at it's going to. So I get that, but at the same time, I'm watching this going, The rebuild movies exist because I'm betting you don't like you now that you're looking back on it, Hideaki Anno, you don't like the original ending and you don't like the movie ending either, so you decided you wanted a new one. Honestly, I'm betting that's what happened.
Possibly.
And plus,
I've heard different explanations, but okay.
I'm just guessing. I don't know. I look at this and go, I don't get what you're. I'm not buying what you're selling.
Okay.
It really feels like you did run out of money, and I feel that way until especially when we get to the different parts of this, and it's obvious he gave somebody a camera and said, just go shoot a still camera, and said, just go shoot pictures of random crap that we can throw in here, because some of the stuff I'm looking at going, I don't know what this visual does not go with this audio.
It doesn't.
It's almost like you could have released this as an audio CD or a radio broadcast or something, and saved somebody the trouble of putting pictures to it. We were actually doing, yes, throughout the show, there were plenty of times where they were obviously saving money by holding shots obviously too long. But at least in those episodes, there was something happening. There was progression of story.
Yeah.
The pauses made sense when they occurred because they gave this pregnant awkward silence for you to feel the awkwardness between characters. This, for one thing, there is no silence in these 2 episodes. It is nothing but talking. And honestly, I still after I watched the whole thing, had a week to process what they got at. I still don't know what is the thing, other than you had to make Shinji feel better about himself, and so you had to prove that not only was freedom not what he wanted, because freedom, there's no rules with freedom technically, according to this.
Yeah.
You had to put boundaries in there, and how, like I said, I understand that this entire thing is Shinji coming to terms with the fact that he killed his friend. Which is as far as I'm taking that relationship, because that's honestly all I saw.
Yeah.
I get that's what it is, and he feels betrayed, and the brotherly love he might have felt for Kaoru, he had to betray himself because he couldn't save him. He had to actually kill him.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Okay.
And I understand how that could break a person. But at the same time, as a person who enjoys stories, even stories that do not have happy endings, as obviously that's not what the show is going for. It's been painfully obvious for like 6 episodes now. I've seen better endings to stories than this.
Okay.
I understand. I understand there are people who do prefer this one to End of Evangelion. I will not be able to say that until next week, one way or the other. I suspect I will, because at least that's a movie that actually has animation all the way to the end. Yeah, I understand exactly why people were disappointed and probably sending so much hate towards Hideaki Anno for the amazingly animated and story that he showed here throughout this whole thing, and his whole back and forth, and all of the questions and the lore and the plot points he brought up and then left to do nothing, to be pointless. The fact that we didn't actually get the third impact in the show kind of makes me mad.
Okay.
I don't know how that would have gone after you killed the last angel, but it was built up so much and then nothing. Just Shinji's got to learn to not run away, and that it's fine if he does. He is fine to be himself and be happy with himself. And it's like, congratulations. Jacob, help me here.
So this episode there again, it is very weird. I agree with you. It is very odd. It's got a lot of, so okay, we go to this alternate reality, which I thought was the funnest thing ever.
It was the funnest thing.
It was. Oh my gosh.
Holy crap, this is how we're ending? And I remember, no way, I know there's a scene where he's standing amongst the sky and people are clapping for him. What the crap's going on?
But I mean, like, okay, so like I said before, Drew brought it up before, that Shinji, like, and all of our characters are being questioned about things. With this, we kind of get answers, but at the same time, it's very this. low grade philosophy, be like what truth is irrelevant, what we're kind of dealing with nowadays in our modern society.
Can I blame this show for introducing relative truth, or did it exist before this?
It's been a concept for
I can
years.
blame it for popularizing it, can't I?
I don't know.
Anyway, I hate the concept of relative truth. I'm sorry.
Yeah, relative truth is brought up and be like oh, because truth is it's a construct, and be like you can be truth whatever it is and blah 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 blah, and be like this is a lie that is straight from the heart of the devil, Satan. And so yeah, that's complete BS, because like reality is reality and you can't deny reality. If you deny reality, you deny truth. So I know that might be a hot topic. Oh my gosh, we hit two hot topics in one episode. Woohoo!
You gotta love it.
You gotta love it.
You want it, folks. You want to see us, two random guys who like cartoons, try to sound like we know what we're talking about with this important stuff, don't you? I'm not saying Jacob's not good at that. Is not smart enough to get all this stuff, but I'm still going. I think I'd be having a lot of smoke blown in my face.
A lot of it, definitely. Because I mean, like there again, it's a show trying to be like important, high philosophy, highfalutin, as some people might say, but it's so just like mid-level kind of just philosophy and thought, and you're just be like, it's like you said, kind of throwing smoke in your face a little bit, but it's more of Shinji trying to come to grips with himself. And it's an episode where Shinji is with you have human instrumentality going on, and the fate of the world being basically thrust into his hands. Which from like looking at it from a retrospective and looking at it as a reviewer, that is a terrible idea. Why in the world would you put the fate of the world in the hands of a young man who has gone through so much trauma that he no longer wants to face reality. He wants to escape reality.
Because as this show clearly shows, Gendo's point was never about saving the world.
No, it wasn't.
I don't know what his point was, but obviously he wanted to cause the third impact. Mm-hmm. Actually, I do know why, because I run across spoilers, so I kind of know his reasoning that gets presented in the movie.
Yeah.
Dirty man.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's obvious.
No.
The reason Gendo did any of put his son in charge, put all the weight on his shoulders, was so that Evangelion Unit 1 would be where it needed to be for the third impact to happen.
Yes.
Because Gendo wants nothing more than to bring his wife back.
Yeah, pretty much.
She's dead.
Yeah.
And honestly, she was a saint for loving you.
You're not kidding.
Let her rest.
People don't know how to do that. So with this be like, and it's like the human instrumentality and, the third impact. And Shinji's fully aware, this can destroy humanity if I didn't destroy, the last angel, which I did. And he feels remorse for what he did for his friend, as I put in air quotes. But it's more about Shinji. It's more about him as a character and learning to let go of all of his issues and let go just to be accepted. Because I'm for someone who has always kind of struggled with self-hate a lot, I can relate. I know somebody was like, "Oh, you can't relate to Shinji because he's a narcissist." And it's like, well, he is a narcissist in some ways. But like some of the greatest people in the world are narcissists. And like, does that make them all serial killers? And you'd be like, you can't relate to them? Like, you can relate to some narcissists. Well, Shinji might have some narcissistic tendencies, but he is a young man who is broken, and he has lived this very harsh life where he doesn't he's never really had people who in his life who would actually love him. It's always use, and be like, discard because you're not useful to me anymore. So with Shinji, it's more he's trying to go through his baggage, his damage, what have you, And it's a young man just trying to come to grips with that. And you have like all these characters trying to lift him up. Now, granted, be like, you look at it narcissistically, he's just be like, oh, he just wants people to praise him and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. In a way, yeah. Because sometimes you need encouragement. You need encouragement for when you are down and you are having issues, you need someone to come up and pick you up and say, hey, it's going to be okay. And, kind of help you through it and help you, walk through it and talk through it, that kind of thing. So with the end of this show, it's kind of in that way where Shinji, because they're again, but like these entire 2 episodes are set in a theater background where our characters are being interrogated and having to answer the question of what is this? What is love? Why do I hate myself? Why be like what is my purpose in life? These kind of, very rudimentary philosophy thoughts. And it's where Shinji has to understand it's like, okay, it's okay to be me. Be like, I struggle with my dislike of myself, but I have to learn to be okay with it. I have to learn to love myself. And don't we all, in some ways? We have to learn to grow and have to learn to love ourselves, even though sometimes we like. I love this ending. I love this ending for the whole reason is Shinji has to learn, and he has to come out of his funk that no one likes me, no one this. I have to learn. I have to be me. I can't be what everybody else wants me to be. And so I think that's a great thing. It's just like there again, the whole what did you say earlier about truth?
Relative truth?
Yeah, relative truth. Be like that. That is just I hate when they bring that crap up. It doesn't really work. Definitely for philosophy, it doesn't really work. For me anyway. I might be wrong. Someone might be in the comments, well, this means this and this means this. Well, truth is, if you deny truth, you're denying reality.
Yeah.
And that's what Shinji is doing. He's denying reality. And so he has to come to grips to learning that, hey, I'm actually accepted. I'm actually loved by people. And people want me around. And yeah, he gets praise for it. He gets praise for it because it's, hey, you didn't cause the death of millions of people because you're stuck in your own head. It's like, hey, congratulations, you saved the world. And hey, you've come to grips with who you are. You've come to grips with not being that person who is going to drag the world into a spiral of death. You have grown past that as a person. And so, yeah, I really enjoyed the ending. I definitely enjoyed the alternate reality where it's so funny, so goofy. Now, granted, they're reusing animation here and there, here and there, here and there,
here and there.
Yeah,
it's everywhere.
Yeah,
like,
it's everywhere.
There's the only part of original animation in this is like the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, agreed.
And half of that is let's show you the happy ending of this show. What the show could have been.
But overall, I thoroughly I enjoy for what it was. It was it's you got to get away from escapism, and that's what Shinji does a lot. He just isolates from it. He escapes from it, where you have to face reality. You have to face what's going on, and that's what we all have to do. And it's not go hide in your broom cupboard or just shut down and not talk to people. You have to go out into the world. That's what we're supposed to do. Definitely as a Christian, you can't just sit idly by and not, tell people the good news of Jesus. You have to go and share. So go out and, live. Don't go sit in a box. Don't deny reality for what it is and be like, this is not the reality I want. Well, tough luck. This is a reality. This is truth. And you have to go live that. And I think it's a good point is brought up in the show. Now, Grant, it's not the ending everybody wanted. And I heard a review that kind of just hit the nail on the head. Just hit it so well. Hit the hammer. You know what I mean. It's where with the movie and especially the rebuilds, it goes into more of that fantasy. What I want things to be. I want things to be this. I want this kind of going back into my truth kind of thing. And it kind of dilutes what I think the director was trying to do. Is like, you have to live in truth. You have to live in the truth, not your own reality. You have to live in truth, the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I get. That's what I get from this. I thought it's brilliantly done. It's a complete departure from what they were doing. It'd be like, it's a little confusing. It's a little, okay, we're doing this mid-level kind of, like low tier philosophy, trying to sound smarter than you are. But I enjoy what the ending was. You'd be like, you're breaking this, this illusionment of reality. And it's like, okay, this is what really is. And you have to be okay with that. And Shinji learning to be okay with himself. Instead of shutting down and I'd be like, I mustn't run away. So yeah. The movie, different ball game. TV show or the movies, different ball game. So
we'll get there when we get there. And some of that will actually be next week.
Yeah,
because that's something we didn't actually say what our next movie was because we had to talk about this first. Next week we are ending Evangelion with the end of Evangelion.
Mm-hmm.
Except I have decided I'm going to take it one step further. I'm watching both films.
Fair,
because one of the films is literally just a montage of the original show. And I thought I might as well have the full Hideaki Anno experience.
Yeah.
For what it's worth.
Yeah.
So join us next week as we talk about the end of Evangelion. And we will be starting a new TAS segment at the end of that episode.
And he's happy about this one.
Oh, this will be the medicine for the depression that is Evangelion. You can't tell me that this show is not depressing in some ways.
Yes, it is.
But we will be watching Spy Family.
Yes.
At least the first half before we have to take a short break.
Yes.
Join us next week for that.
Yes.
You have anything else to add before we leave for the evening?
It's going to be a lot of orange juice next week.
Oh,
So
it's
just
gotta be a lot of
prepared.
orange juice. I think this is the only episode, this upcoming episode is the only episode we've ever done where the name of the episode was known for 5 years. But join us next week for that. In the meantime, this has been Drew.
This is Jacob.
And we will catch you in the next frame.
You can follow Jacob on his Facebook at Jacob B. Heron. His Facebook page, Jacob's Daily Art Corner, where he tries to draw each and every day. His Instagram at Jacob B. Heron. His Twitter at Jacob Heron.
And his letterboxd at Jacob Heron. You can find Drew on Facebook at Drew Dodgen.
His Facebook page, Drew's Photo Bin, to see his photography. His letterboxd page at GGeorge759. His Twitter at GGeorge759. And Instagram at Drew Dodgen. You can like us on Facebook at the Cellcast Podcast, on Twitch at the Cellcast Gaming,
On YouTube at Cellcast.
on Twitter at cast_cell. The Cellcast can be found at Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or anywhere else fine podcasts are downloaded from. Please rate and review us where you found us, and also on Podchaser. Email us at thecellcastpodcast@gmail.com. The Cellcast is a proud member of both the Pop Americana and Culture Box media networks. For more information, please see the link in the description. Our theme song is Drop and Roll by Silent Partner. And remember, that's Cell with a single L.
Zippity doo dah, zippity day. My oh my, what a wonderful day. Evangelion's over and it's gone away. Almost. Zippity doo dah, zippity day.
Ninja kick the darn rabbit.